All right, Robert, next start. Welcome to All Eyes Allegiant, New Jersey, 408 Chancellor Avenue for another question and answer class. As student teachers of the master teacher, Bobby and Ganur, we will do our best to address and answer any questions that you may have. Before we do begin, I would like to read the Pledge of Saving, which is all Parahan Shalel Musbata. Nakuk Rahum Tayuen Leyen Wu-Sabat. I pledge allegiance to Wu-Sabat, Shalel Pa Takuda Musbat Shabbat of the United Sabian Tribe. Wahu Muisar Tahet Masbat Wu Masa. One family of the Sirius and Orion. Karir Sahu Rakuk, Sahu Hakum, Sahu Bahu. With right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding. Lahek aloud, Sahu Tahum, Karir Jamut Sahu Nakush. For all right understanding with sound right reasoning. This is the pledge of obedience. Before we take questions, I know that we have had a couple of classes. There's a lot of things going on in the tribe, a lot of events coming up. Hopefully you were tuned with those, were notified, and were able to participate. If not, that's okay. I'm glad this get warm. We're going to add a lot more. I want to read something really quick, if I could, from Your Potential. And we'll take questions. So coming out of Your Potential, the master teacher, Bobby Anoon, is going over a few aspects of the body, the mind, and how you actually access your potential. So I'll begin with verse 64. Think of your voice. This is the voice that speaks to the infinite being in the world of human beings. 65. Imagine you are a person who sings gospel. 66. Before you are 3,000 listeners, all there to hear the wonderful sound that you're creating. 67. They are overwhelmed. 68. They are lifted to a high state of ecstasy. 69. Now, let us imagine your voice being used for nothing more than to say, have a good day. 70. Is this an unimportant mission? 71. I sometimes think the way we greet one another has more effect on the progress of human beings. 72. Than anything ever said by the world's greatest orators. 73. In 2,000 languages, Rahubat, hello, salam alaikum, hail, ma shalomka, can create good or bad human relationships in the lives of unnumbered millions every day. 74. What does your breeding really say? 75. What kind of electromagnetic quality had you implanted in these simple blue sayings? 76. Is it the vibrational pattern of discouragement and dismay, distrust and doubt, or does it uplift? 77. Does it establish a new degree in the mind of the hearer? 78. Does that say to that person, you are an individual who can accomplish something? 79. Though you are beset by troubles, you have a worthwhile life to live. 80. Though outward circumstances seem to indicate otherwise, you are the majestic individual. 81. Does your breeding say that? 82. Does it establish a true brotherhood or sisterhood between you and the one to whom it is spoken? 83. Just by the way you give your greeting, the inner you will proceed from the inner depth of your spiritual nature. 84. Your hands and your voice are just two of the physical qualities. 85. That you possess or express in the spiritual majesty of your being. I'll stop right there. I wanted to share that because it's simply talking about how we greet each other, right? Is there anything hidden in your greeting? Is there something that emanates from the majesty of the divine in you that allows when a person they want to reach you or want to be greeted by you because you're sitting of a certain warmth, a certain comfort that they may be going through something, but just your tone, the sound that you emanate will make them have a better day or feel better about whatever it is that they may be going through. So what we say to one another as Sabians, Rahubat, we have to send that same energy, not say it with the steak tones or I really want to say it, I'm being forced to say. That's not what the culture is. And when we really truly begin to live that, we'll not just greet each other that way, but we'll greet anybody that we come into contact with. And that in itself is an upgrade in your spiritual development. So with that, we do say, brow back. We saw. Are there any questions?
Don Murray. So Robert, can you explain which is the correct way to learn the language? Learning the alphabets first or just words in the language with time scroll?
Okay. All right. So Robert, first of all, Robert does bring but that's not for me or everyone to say what's the correct way, because what happens is what works best for you. If you find that you want to learn the alphabet first, the alphabet are what? The harafat. Those are just the letters. Now, what you want to do with the time, put the words together. You want to pause and go, oh, that's the A, that's a B. If that works for you, yes, right? Another way would be just to learn the basics, right? To speak Misbatia or our language. The two first things that everybody learned is what? Rawback and Wadu. Now you need to fill in the space between that. So you may learn the things that you say every day, like, how are you? How are you doing today? How was work? How was this? So you want to get that in, as a, just learn how to put sentences together. And then the more you do that, the more comfortable you'll get with the language. When someone else says it to you, you don't have to stop to translate. You begin to start doing it as first nature. If you're asking me, and I say me personally, what was one of the ways that helped me to learn the language, and I'm still learning it, one of the ways that helped me is the chant. Because the chant have a lot of words that you would use and commonly, help, hear, us, our, you, family, children, things like that. So me, by chanting repetitiously or repetitive, you actually learn a lot of the words that way. So I don't know, is there a right way to learn this Bachi other than to be serious about learning? You know what I mean? Go over the words that you've had. In the newer scrolls, you have updates to words, go over those, things like that. And the more you do it, which is one of the healing properties of the doctrine in the scrolls, is you did it in English, but you also get it in our language what certain words mean. Make a notebook. Write down the things that you get out of the scrolls. You like build your vocabulary that way. Is there a way that you would say that will help you learn the language?
Days like I said, they suck that you use. No language you learn by learning how, but it's English, don't learn English, learn how. Correct children don't learn English by learning how. You just learn it by speaking.
Okay, so again, that's one of our Zamal tasks, very proficient in this language. So while it's okay to learn it, but you won't learn the language itself by just focusing on the alphabet, because we don't speak alphabet, we speak words. So the more big you put the words together, and then if you want to say, hey, I want to write somebody, you could make it as a project for yourself. I said this, Arahan Shalab Musbat. How would I write that? You could do it as like addition to work, but you want to know what pop means, what Prahan means, Chanel. So when somebody else says Chanel to you, you are that, oh, Chanel is of. Then you go, okay, if Chanel is of, what does M mean? En. That also means of. We're speaking about someone in the dog hole, upper what? And again, taking it back to the chant. I am in love of all others in me. That's shook, right? That's shook of what? The all, empire by us. So you start to refine the way that you could distinguish different words, but don't make it seem like it's hard. Put a lot of pressure on yourself. I'm just saying, let it absorb it, because either speaking the language around other people or yourself, if you're just practicing alone, just doing that actually upgrades your mind anyway. It actually, as the rest comes to be with you, you're getting enhanced, you're improving on the vocabulary. So again, from us to you, I would just say learn the words. Learn the words from the scrolls that you have. If there are any language classes that are online or Telegram, join those and see where they're at. Learn your colors, learn your number. Why? You use colors, you see colors, you use numbers, right? It sounds simple, but you'll be surprised how that's a gateway for you to learn the more intricate words, how to conjugate. You learn all that in English, so you could definitely learn it in your own language. Why? Because it's yours. You have a vested interest in learning the language. All right. I pray that helps them all. I pray that helps. Any other questions? No.
Oh, he just said thanks to back. Just wanted clarity as well. That helps me. Thanks as well to this amount happening, doing my best.
Tag it there for you. Definitely appreciate the question. So.
If I ever speak on the purpose of birthmarks, your birthmarks are.
Not that I know of. Not that I'm familiar with. Have you ever heard about the birthmarks themselves? Oh, holes in the ear, or that matter, or just a bird box. Maybe shit. Or pip. Instead that they're cool. Okay. Oh, that's all right. Well, I'll bring. Yeah, sure. All right, back. Appreciate that. Season. Where is this?
Oh,
All right, so while we are formulating those excellent questions that we'll be asking, I'm going to read a little bit from one of the readings with the master teachers, like a question and answer session called The Atomic. And one of the questions was about the planes or abodes. So the question is, which one, master? Answer. Well, let us begin. There are 9 planes, abode, realms of existence in this universe. Question. Master teacher, are there more or less in other parts of the omniverse? Answer. Yes. Some have more while others less. Well, in this one, the physical abode is the lowest of the 9, and it consists of atoms of matter and quanta of energy ordered by time. The physical plane is referred to as the lowest abode or realm because mutation rate of its constituents, atoms and quanta, has the slowest frequency of the 9 planes. The planet, the stars, and the light you see are all of this lowest mutational rate. I did not include his moon because it was made in place where it is as an observation station, a satellite inhabited by graves. So each of the 9 planes of existence consists of atoms and quanta, and each plane is differentiated from the others by the mutational rate of the material and energy composing of it. Therefore, there are 9 mutational rates. The unnaturally created hybrid race, Adamites, only had 6, and their female counterpart has 7. The 6th, the third state of existence, which does not include the soul, only body up to a spirit. And that's about the planes, but you could also apply that to us as non-ether beings. Some of us move on a slower or a lower rate. And what happens is, the higher you are, the easier it is for you to vibrate and be more positive, as we're talking about the breathings. The lower or slower you vibrate, you now get the self-access to these demonic forces or disagreeable forces, because when you move slow or lower, they can actually grab onto you. And then when they do that, they pull you down. Which scroll is that? I'll tell you. I think that was also the conscious being. Yeah, I think I might just go to that piece and let me read that real quick. Conscious being. All right, so the Paktaruk conscious being, it ties into the 9 planes of an abode. Also, again, is when you're on this abode, you have the ability as an Nagaru to go up from 1 to 9 ether. So, verse 61, Master Teacher Bobby Anu. Well, you know what? Let's go up. Let's go to verse 59. The Master Teacher Bobby Anu is teaching about these attraction that we have, but we have the mode or speed of our vibration frequency. 59. Each of these gravitated to those of similar vibratory resonance, and on the ethereal plane, like attracts like. Say that again, like attracts like. 60. With thought forms and entities of dense and heavy resonance lower in the field than those of quicker or happier vibrations. 61. Know that every event that takes place in the physical realm is imprinting a thought form onto the etheric. Yet, most fade over time. 62. Mortals, that is very physical humans, live in the slowest frequency level. Now, when you say mortals, that very physical humans that live in the slowest frequency level, isn't that compared to the lowest frequency on the 9 planes, which is the physical plane? So you talk about very physical humans actually vibrate on that lower or slower plane, right? So, 63, in the field of vibration as is to be expected. So they stay on that low ones. Now, when you hear a very physical human or mortal, as it were, who vibrates on that very low density or very slow vibration resonance, that frequency, that vibratory resonance, that is a terrestrial being, meaning there are 2 types of beings that are walking on the planet right now. There are those that are visitors who will be going to other realms, and you have those who are residents, who are purely physical beings, immortals, they stay on this level. Now, 64, the higher levels in the field of vibration are composed of the faster frequencies. 65, entities that exist within these levels think and act much faster than those in the lower levels or slower planes, tying back into what the Master Teacher is teaching about the 9 planes or goals. 66, and their mental states are much more unified in Pa-Pa-Ut, the all, a group mind called Matrix. 67, as one descends through the field, gravity increases. So what is the Master Teacher saying right now? As one descends, meaning your continence or your potency, it descends. It can go up to 9 or it can come down. So as it descends through the field of what? Vibratory resonance, something happens. As it descends, gravity increases. So we all know that gravity does what? Hold you down on this planet. Gravity is the opposite of levity. So, as one descends through the field, gravity increases, dragging down thought into separateness allowing for the development of individual consciousness, choice, will, and easy access by the demon force. 68. Who dwell on the lowest level, waiting to step into their katat bodies, take over their akal minds, use their emotions, then once they cause them to do something, or say the wrong thing, they move on to the next person. 69. That's the inner voice that leads many to their death or to fight and even kill, and they walk in. 70. Many fights between lovers are caused by these lower level beings. 71. Many dead who wish to feel life again, being trapped on a lower level and can't move on. 72. They become evil forces and cause all kinds of events that lead to sufferings. 73. They move on ill feelings, anger, jealousy, hatefulness, envy, and so on. So as the master teacher is giving us the whole existence, the planes and the abodes, you have to also see how's that tying to you. Which one of these abodes of the 9 are you vibrating on the most? Because whatever the mind thinks of the most, that's what it is. That's what you will attract. Like attracts like. So as we are on this mission, right, as humans, well, deities in flesh, as we're on that mission, we should be striving to vibrate faster, lighter, happier. What happens when you're moving on that heightened pace of frequency, you become or you develop and are able to utilize and dwell comfortably in that state of oneness. We say that in many classes as Wahunas. You're able to actually stay on that level. And if you're up there and don't descend, where gravity becomes stronger and heavier, they cannot grab you. They cannot latch on and walk into you and have you do or say the wrong things. So it's very important to watch your mind closely, right? And remember, what you should be thinking about is always a positive leaning toward positivity at all the time, even when you may be facing, as I was reading in your petition, something that may not appear to be positive or going their way. You must still have a positive outlook in order to get past whatever that circumstance is. Do you have any questions, Jeff?
It says, has the master teacher Panabab and then mentioned anything about the West African country, Burkina Faso, and its leader, Ibrahim Traoré, who has united Mali, Niger, Ghana, Namibia, and lots of other African countries that are no longer and has cut off association with the U.S., France, Germany, Britain, etc., and have become the United African, and more African countries are joined.
Right. Well, as far as I've been privy to on calls and Sabian tribal calls, I haven't heard the master teacher speak specifically about that, but in certain strolls he said a while ago that the Caucasus or the Caucasian or the Caucasoid, they're losing their power over all these other countries, including the Asians, us as Africans. So it's going to happen. He's already said that years ago. What now? What's happening now? We're just witnessing that. We're literally just witnessing what he said previously. But recently, no, he has not. That I'm aware of, speak specifically on the West African countries that are doing that. I actually just reclaimed it in liberation, which is a positive thing, moved down. But I haven't heard her say it.
Sure. How do one, how does the master teacher will explain how one would stay on the positive higher vibrations as opposed to be on the lower ones?
All right. So one of the ways that reinforces that state of positivity is meditation, prayers, chants, and just knowing who you are and accepting your worth, because you have inside, each one of us has inside of us that innate inner being that dwells that way anyway. And when you start when you start being attracted to external things, external attractions That will actually break you down because you're chasing something that's an illusion. And when you don't get it, it changes your continence. So to stay positive is to literally live your culture, right? Understand that when you are praying and when you are meditating, two things are happening. Praying is your talking, you're communicating. When you're meditating, they're actually listening. So we learn to listen to who? The true you, the inner being that's directly connected to your ancestors, the Panatara. That's how you stay positive. Because the mind now, again, is going faster, as I just read. It's going faster. And because it's going faster, you're losing less of the traction of these things that are illusory, and you become happier with the freedom you achieve from that clear thought, right? Another way, again, is when you open your thought, the divine eye. Then you see the world as it really is. If you understand that your ancestors exist, I'm talking about your relative, over down the lines upon the bottle. They are you, and you are them. And when you understand that, nothing on this plane should ever give you a type of dis-ease short of not taking care of ourselves healthy. Not watch what we eat, watch where we go. What time are we at this place? There's certain places we should not be because the calibration of frequencies is not on our wavelength. We're going to have to go down to literally enjoy the things that were evolved. So when you change your environment, you're going to have to descend and gravity attracts to you. If you change your environment, you'll always be in a lofty state of mind. And if a lofty or elevated state of mind is simply saying you're above the nonsense, you're above the things that give you short-term pleasure and long-term dismay, especially if you're trying to achieve a certain point of pleasure in this thing that you're chasing and you never get it. Now you have what? That sense of loss, of not attaining that. And that will make a person depressed. Let's see, down. You're going down. You have to always stay up, right? And you have to do that. The repetitive meditation, repetitive prayer, repetitive chants. If we're chanting every day, right? You should be kind of happy when you get chants out. Why? Because I'm communicating with my elders, with my ancestors. And when we vibrate by chanting and doing it to the best of our ability, they come nearer to us. And if you're one of those beings who has not polluted your body with certain things, I'm not going to whatever, chemical, be it food, drinks, drugs, whatever, anything like that. You have not diluted the senses by dipping yourself in that solution, you feel their presence. That's out of the mind's eye. Because now you're actually speaking on the tone and the frequency that's fast enough so when they respond, you can hear it or you can feel it. But if you're out here sometime in it, like you, I'm just saying, we have some people that are summer savings. Some of the time I'm saving, and some of the time I'm just immortal. Why? Because the tingling I get for being immortal, that physical stimuli, makes me feel good. So I think. But if I go out of my way to spend money that should be going towards something else for that physical stimuli, once the stimulation is gone, that bill is still there. Or my responsibility has not been met as a father, as a man, as a mate to someone. Or just even if you're a single brother or sister, you are being diluted by that illusion of pleasure. And then the pain that follows that outweighs it, always. This is never I broke even, because if you break even, that means you didn't move. And we are everything in the universe is movement. You feel me? So that's how you want to stay positive. Do the things that are naturally to your nature. We had one who was set down of the thought, a deity in flesh that was set down to realign us with the right frequency, which is the formula for success. So we don't have to repeat and cut back here and forgot that we were here the last time and do it all over again. Right? Y'all know what time it is. It's 2025. Does the world get better now? Oh, all right. So you want to come back 60 years from now, 100 years from now, with other entities control the planet? And you all melody out here?
Sure.
All right. You have any other questions? I pray that I did trust your question. You good?
I'm just putting it out there.
Okay. All right. So, the master teacher is telling us often that we have these powers within us, and the lack ability to improve our lives and the lives of others. We are actually representatives of upon the daughter while we're here. We are those who represent this higher divine doctrine, this way of life. Are we sharing that willingly with one another and others, right? You know how, like, anybody that's in religion, if you talk to them for more than 5 minutes, they bringing it up. Some way they bring it up. A lot of us feel, oh, I don't want to push it on nobody. How's pushing what you do on somebody? They want to know anything. You may not know how to ask, but they know you're different, right? It only in the way you stand. It only in how, again, going back to how we greet each other. If somebody who was outside right now looking in and we were having an event and they saw us all having a good time, they want to go, who are y'all? So if one of us, y'all watching, don't again, if one of us is asked, who are you? What are you? What you gonna say? I'm just what? You just what? I'm just what? You know what I mean? If you can't follow, I'm just what? The same confidence that you can say, I'm a Leo, I'm a Taurus. Well, he don't, but he don't want to hear it, but he didn't ask. You just think, but if someone asks, you have to be willing to say, I'm Sabian, I'm a Nuwapi. I am an active, proud, a happy member of the Nubian Nation. And that means that I'm big enough for you too, my friend. Here's a scroll. Don't feel afraid to get about the scroll. Here's a scroll. Come in class. If you got questions, ask, right? Because they're going to see something is different about you. Because your pants ain't sagging. You ain't coming from the corner store with a bottle in your hand. You don't look depressed. As a Sabian, as anyone that's in this culture, why are you depressed? If you need a mate and not want a mate, if you need a mate, then you need to be emitting that energy that's going to attract that mate. Because the mate is also coming towards you. But if you're not ready to receive him or her, natural nature's not going to let it happen. You can force it, right? But that's not the rule. The rule of natural nature is you should be emanating a certain energy that is close to what your soulmate is looking for. And y'all are hurting toward each other, right? And when you're coming together and that right side, left side brain starts working, the magic happens. So people who don't have that see the images of the magic on us. And if you can't explain what the magic is, then you don't really understand. And that's not knocking anybody. I'm just saying that you put it this way. You know how we have 4 cycles? The sun and moon, sun and the moon. You also have 4 phases or cycles of understanding this doctrine. You had the apparent. That's cool. Apparent. That's the words. Master teacher's giving you words to go into the mind to give you the mental images to process that. So now, the first part would be the apparent. Then you had the unapparent. That's the part that's behind the words that carries the essence and the magic. It's a part of natural ether energy. And sometimes it's seen, sometimes it's semi-seen, and sometimes it's unseen. So when we're as students of the master teacher, we have to go through these 4 phases. 1, questions. 2, and answers. So that's what the students, all of us the students, we had the answers to the questions, right? Or we're asking questions because we're seeking the answers. You see how you stood in the first 2 parts? And the third part is the build, meaning when the master teacher has answered the question for you, you should now have 9 more questions. When you ask the correct question based on the answer that you understood, he's going to now build on it. The master teacher is going to build on those answers, right? Now, once he builds, guess what? He's taking it to another level because he built, you thought this meant that? It's really made this. Now you build it. Now, once you get the build, that's point 3. Once you get the build, now you got to get the breakdown. Who's giving us the breakdown on information that only he can get other than him, the master teacher? So are we, as students, sons and daughters of the master teacher, are we willing to wait with patience for the build and getting the breakdown? Right? He's been giving this to us for decades now. But because we didn't have the listening ear, we caught on whatever school we're in, some of us did catch the exit jewel. And he say, never mind, you'll know what that means later. When he said that, you should have put that in the memory. Like, all right, that's coming up, I need to know. So when he does say it again, that's the breakdown. See? So those 4 phases happen just like the 4 cycles. So as students and sons and daughters of the master teacher, we have to be patient. You have to ask yourself, am I over patient? Or do I want to grab when I think he's done teaching me and run off? Now, can bear witness of those who run off? How are they now? Right? And as Sabians who are supposed to be implementing our should they return, we should welcome them. But a lot of them won't. And it won't, because ego has deluded them to think I was still right. And once I found out I'm wrong, it's not in me now to come back and say I was wrong. Right? So they're going to bypass the third and fourth process of actually learning how to be a deity. This is all spiritual development. We're being polished. We're being polished so that we can actually think on a faster and lighter level. So when we go to the faster and lighter vibrations of the other realms, we'll fit in. And we'll drop trying to be deep. End up back here. Because we thought we had it figured out. Like really, since 1963, you think that we really got all 76 trillion years of knowledge? We have to be able to wait with patience. We're studying. Why waiting? Don't let this just be words. And you're not transforming ourselves, quickly. We're not transforming ourselves to be cosmosas, to be sons and daughters of the Omniverse. We're still worried about what's happening on this planet, which is really a crap now that we know. We ignore that, right? So now we're still sitting here thinking that this is the end all be all. There's people right now walking amongst us that say things like, well, when you die, I said it's over. And not knowing they answer the question correctly, but the reasoning to that answer is wrong. When you die, as they say, and nobody died or transformed, they say when you die, it's over. So the end is over. You are going over to the next level of existence. Over means above. And you can't get there with what? You are descending. You can't get there with descending. So we have to really, really take this as serious as it needs to be taken. And if we do, then we don't have time to get caught up in those other things that's slowing us down. You feel me? So when we come around each other, we're supposed to build each other up, right? We are the first master builders on the planet. They still can't explain how we build those pyramids and what the tack down the energy really means. To this day, we had one who saw that, who was there, which is here now, and we want to reject him. For what? You know what I mean? Because people want to say, I don't like him, or did this and he did that, not knowing that that's inaccurate information. There's a higher reasoning. The unapparent reason is what we look at and how and why he got kidnapped, why he got taken away. Not the apparent, that's space value. The apparent, the unapparent is what we need to be delving into. And when we are supremely cemented in the fact that what that unapparent reason was, the journey continues. Don't let anything outside, external, pause your journey. Rather be someone's attitude towards you or us. Why should we care what the next current person thinks? When we go right. Other people in religion, they feel they're right. And as Sabian, do respect everyone's right to think they're right. We ain't even pressing them on that. That's good for you. But we don't ask. We demand the same respect from others that we give to you. So we're not here to bash or kick their back in or whatever their spiritual schools of thoughts are. But we're saying it, don't come with us because you're not really ready. You're not really ready. We could take you all world and then 10 years from now and realize what the master teacher said in 1970 isn't that now. You see that? But those are the beings who didn't wait with patience for the build and breakdown. All right? I suppose to share that. You have any questions? All right, so let's continue. So this is a question. Again, we're spilling the atomic. This is a question. So, can we reach and use those powers? Answer. Yes, you can. And your ancestors, Harman Natharu, were there, and relatives who made it. You see, intelligent beings exist upon all 9 abodes, and the body of the persons who function upon all 9 planes are composed of atoms of that respective mutation rate. Because remember, each plane has a designated mutation rate, meaning the spin rate, how fast the vibration is. Each plane has their homes. So if you're moving like this, and you go to a plane that moves like that, you'll get lost. You can't exist, you can't dwell in the faster plane because your mind is thinking on lower level things, right? Now, so a being, our shit is red, a being living upon one of the upper planes enjoys the inherent mental ability to naturally discern all the planes, which are of the lower mutation rate than the plane upon which they happen to function. Stop. What is the master's syllabus? Right? That's like, look at the planes as grades of school. When you get to the 9th grade, Can you not look comfortably back at 8th grade work, 7th grade work, 6th grade work? You're eternally comfortable because you mastered that. That's what he's saying. But your first day in 9th grade, you have to respect the rules of the 9th grade because you haven't been given them yet. That's what he's talking about in explaining existence, right? Now, that means to naturally discern all the planes which are of a lower rotational rate than the plane upon which they happen to function. You oftentimes visit the planes in your dreams, and you don't even realize it was real. You may travel through the 9 air pockets in space and beyond space to see the past then, the present now, and the future then. Any question? Got question? So, some of our dreams are real? Answer, yes. Some are visions, warnings, and experiences, and you can learn to navigate them. Visit the past, yet when you visit the future, you lose life in this life. Question, what does that mean? Answer, if you travel to the past and return, nothing is lost of your life now. Yet, if you travel to the future, for every moment you're there, you lose a year of this life, and the memory of it is lost to you as a warning. So, that time is not altered. That could be explained in details in another hereafter class later. So make note of this. Each person alive consists of 4 divine beings, all interpenetrating and coexisting. All atoms, regardless of the non-variant mutational rates, are constructed generally in the same way. And because atoms are almost entirely empty space and separated from one another by relatively large distances, the 4 divine beings of a person simultaneously coincide in space. The component atoms respective to each being commingle without interference with one another. So you all understand? You understand what he's saying? How the 4 beings actually exist at the same time and they commingle in space, but because of the large distances that we'll never run into ourselves. Unless you master quantum entanglement, meaning you understand how that happened and why that happened, and you're able to travel, preferably to the past, and see your other self, one of the 4. You follow that? So yes, Joa.
My question is what I was saying. Talks up the 4 U's. If you're talking about literally 4 different U's or 4 different, it's talking about you as like off branches through life and experience.
Right, and in different lines, it's like you on different timelines, right? It's because of the space. Like you said, you're all composed of distinct atoms, so it is you. A rudimentary example would be when the master teacher talks about your counterpart. That's one of the ones. And you really don't see them physically, but you will see them go in the dream state, right? And then when y'all transition, y'all meet up again as become one. So he's talking about the 4 divine beings. Each one of them are divine, but they're you composed of the same atoms. And what happens is because space is so vast that y'all literally commingle. You can be mingling in a room with people and never touch them, right? You just mingling. Everybody's mingling around. That's what's happening. But space is so vast, these 4 don't come in contact with each other. However, there is a heightened state of mentality, of consciousness where you can actually go to, but you have to learn that. You have to be taught that. Right? That it's not gonna happen easy. That's in Secret of Tones, the Elixir of Life. He touched on that very briefly on that. And maybe in neuroscience too.
What's the purpose of experience?
They just exist called, and I don't know if the master will go into this. In here, I don't think he does. I don't think he talks about it. So they're all a part of existence. I'm not sure why to that why they're for. But they didn't really see the editing. So make note of this. Each person alive consists of 4 divine beings, all interpenetrate and coexisting. All atoms, regardless of the non-variant mutation rates, are constructed generally in the same way. So from this, this is my understanding, but from this, the 4 divine beings, they're each on a different mutational rate, which is why we wouldn't run into them. But because all of those abodes exist within space, they can actually commingle and interpenetrate. But I come up think, at least I'm not aware of him going any master teacher going any further into that. Because atoms almost entirely empty spaces separated from one another by relatively large distances. The four divine beings of a person simultaneously coincide in space. The component atoms respective to each being, so they're definitely separate beings, each being commingle without interference with one another. So you all understand, okay? A person's physical body is the one of which he is commonly aware. Yes, both males and females, the physical body is subject to time, temperature, and the chemical equilibria unique to the slowest rotational rate. Only the physical plane is subject to time, for time is a function of matter and vice versa. Without matter, there can be no time. Without time, there could be no matter. That's all in the physical plane. That's relegated to the physical. Question. So, without time, we would not exist? Answer. Only the physical you, not all your other divine beings. They do not depend upon time or place to exist. That is now Master's grade going to the four, looks like the four parts of us. Time to exist. Okay, they do not depend upon time or place to exist. Ha, basar or bashar, flesh, body, physical person, one of the four beings. So now get back to your question. Since we read this, the four divine beings could be, and we're just going to work on this together, the different parts of you. Physical, spiritual, right, soul, and vision. All right, so before we continue, you go back to this, just so we can kind of be clear on. This again is a Pantaruk conjugate being. We just go over verse 19. Master teacher Bobby Edmund is explaining this, and we see this coincides with this. Verse 19. Now, in ancient Egypt, this fact is included. You have Pa-Katak, the body, which is linked to Pa-Ka, the spirit person, or rational and conscious being, or rational or conscious existing being. And you have Pa-Ba'a, the soul, which is the emotion and conscious being, and Pa-Akat, the ethereal being, the creative astral being existing as a link to realities. A crab called the black bird and is called by a person the real secret being. Now let's go back to the atomic as the master teacher is explaining this. So answer, only your physical you, not all your other divine beings. They do not depend upon time or space to exist. Pa, basar, or bashar, flesh, body, physical person, one of the four beings. Number two, the next highest, so now he's one of the four existing on different mutation rates. The next highest being of mortal beings function on the second plane of existence, which is known as the spiritual plane. This being of human beings is called the vital, D-I-T-A-L, being, coalesces the physical body and determines its shape. This is your nafash or nafash pa-ka'ah, the spirit being. This is your personality, because the physical body, pa-ka'at, is consistently aging and breaking down, and by its telomeres, cell builders, renewing itself with the chemical provided in your food, air, and water. The vital being maintains the pattern so that you are recognizable from month to month on the Akak Mawan etheric abode. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, all right. I will. Let's go back to the beginning of the second plane. All right. Point number two, or the second. The next highest being of mortal beings functions on the second plane of existence, which is known as the spiritual plane. This being of human beings is called the vital, V-I-T-A-L, yes, in parentheses, being the vital being, coalesces the physical body and determines its shape. This is your nafash or nafas pa ka'a, the spirit being. This is your personality because the physical body, pa katat, is consistently aging and breaking down. And by its telomeres, cell builders, renewing itself with the chemicals provided in your food, air, and water. That part. Okay. The vital being, this part maybe, or I don't know. The vital being maintains the pattern. So remember, this vital being is what gives you your shape. So further on, the master teacher Bobby Luna is saying the vital being maintains the pattern so that you are recognizable from month to month on the Athak or Mawan, or Mawan, M-A-W-A-N, which is the etherical bowl. It's also the energy which sustains the vegetable parasus of fat kayu, the spark of life. The spirit being, vital being, is within the sea, pa sharak, the root of every Roman thing. And as the Bible being regulates the healing process after wounds and or disease, 3. The next being higher, which is the next above spirit or vital being, is known as the soul plane. This being of human beings who still have one, the astral being, who still had one. We'll read that over. All right, let's start again. Point 3. The next being higher, which is next above spirit or vital being, is known as the soul plane. This being of human beings who still had one. What did the last teacher say right there? Because it caught me. I was like, I read it too fast. Read it one more time. Watch. This. Yes. Right. So the master is saying the next being high, which is the next above spirit or body being, is known as the soul plane. This being of human beings who still have one, meaning those who still have a soul. If you don't have a soul, you stop at the spiritual plane. And there's 2 more after that, but you stop at the spiritual plane because you don't have a carrier to get you to the one after the soul plane. So let's keep on. The astral being, the nutational frequency components atoms is of the third abode of existence. This is your ruach or rupapa'a, the soul being. This is your divine connection to the oversoul. Go back to verse 19 before we go further. This is your divine connection to the oversoul. Verse 19. I'm skip the first 2. We're on 3 for soul, so I'm going to start on soul here. And you have Paba'a, the soul, which is the emotional and conscious being, and Pa'etero being, the creative astral being. You said astral being right here as well, the master teacher did. The astral being existing as what? A link to reality. So without the soul and the astral being, you don't have a link to reality, meaning you can be confused, trapped, deluded, and fall victim to the illusions of this physical plane. And the highest you can get is the spiritual plane. But as I read further in the sentence scroll, you could be one of those beings who wants to feel life again, because that's all you know. So you wait for somebody to either pass away or you wait for them to drop down with gravity pulls up towards you. And if they come close enough, you can walk in and feel life again, right? So let's keep walking. So the soul being, this is your divine connection to the oversoul. This is their goal and this is their goal and being human only used after death. It's your emotional being. Just read that. Your divine you. It coalesces the deities. Your illuminated being, the astral or soul being, corresponds to the common concept of what is called the soul, not to be mistaken for the spirit. They are not the same. And this abode or plate of nawar, of light, of morals or aura, and changes color in accordance to one's mood. Some persons of clairvoyant ability who gain glimpses of the transcendent and radiant beauty of this plane exist, and gave rise to the beautiful concept of heaven, or haven, docking above, and the place of the life hereafter. Then, got questions? Question? Okay. Y'all just listening today. Okay. All right. Or they're like, hey, get up. Hope you read. All right. So here's another question. After you absorb that, those four divine beings, it's really you. It's just different aspects of you, right? As I was stating, though, when you recover, like right here, we read this one part on the Newark light of mortals or order, your orders. It changes color in accordance to one's mood. Now let's read this next part. Let's listen to this part. Some persons or people of clairvoyant, what's clairvoyant? Clear sight. Some people who develop a clear sight, clairvoyant ability, who have gained glimpses, meaning while they're physical, they actually get glimpses into these different planes, right? How do we make contact with the different planes? What about us gives us that ability? Our soul, the astral being, that's the link to realities. Those realms are real. That's the point. And with us as saviors, as students of the master teacher, Baba Yanun, when we come to that realization that they are real, we now get access to look there for them. But we have to raise our vibrations, our clairvoyance, our clear vision to see that that's real. You do that by making a connection by way of chanting. That's not the only way. You get certain vital energy about what? What you eat, what you drink, and what you breathe. There's certain elements here that will line up, that allow us to make connections when we do the spiritual part. That's the science, what you put in your body. The spiritual part is when you do that spiritual connection. Us, spiritual scientists, right? Wait a minute, where's that?
Over here.
Not today. Okay, I hope let's get back to it. So now, the persons of clairvoyant ability who have gained glimpses of the transcendent and radiant beauty of this plane exist and gave rise to the beautiful concept of heaven or haven, the docking abode above, and the place of the light thereafter. So, anybody who has developed, yes,
So you're saying the clairvoyance is also the ability to see the light in the hereafter?
to actually see that. You see the transcendent and radiant beauty of it. And of course, you get a glimpse on what life is like on the higher realms. How do you call it beauty? How do you say it's transcendent? Because you don't see it here. It transcends all the BS that we experience on this lowly, slow plane of operation. Imagine seeing something where the colors are not the same as here, where the shapes are not the same as here, and you feel a shook, really. You literally feel it, and to the point where it's like a wave that pushes you. But because you're not been here, you don't fall, but you see it. You're actually able to see that and describe it to yourself, because right here, we're still here, remember? So that's why it says the concept of it.
So I seen pictures that Baba had where it was like a drawing, but you couldn't see the people's face, and they were like an energy field and connected with a person. And he was saying in that point, he was saying that these are your parents that you need to connect to. But it was like an energy where the person was shaped like that.
As are we, though. The only reason we don't truly see all our energy is because of the 99 elements that constitute this space for you. Imagine when your parents, your relatives, whoever pray, when they transition, what are they now? Energy, right? And so when they come back, what makes you recognize them? The fact that the spirit gives it shape. The spirit already given a shape here. So because your mind's eye remember how that person looked, they can see you're on a higher plane, right? So they see it all here. They got this all figured out. They go, this person won't recognize me unless I come back as they recognize me, or the familiar spirit. So they're going to come back in a shape that you can readily recognize, but they're really energy. But they slow down and shape again, as the spirit does, a form that you can relate to, right? So now when we're doing our, when we're communicating with our Nasab relative on the altar, things like that, Do we see them at first? No, we just have a picture. But the picture is the shape that the spirit gave anyway. So now when you get comfortable with communicating with them, you won't need the picture. Because if you're really on the right tone, they're going to come to you as they are. But you already know that because the feeling I was talking about. When you look at the higher realms, you get that feeling. That's really when you're in the Sabbath, you get that feeling. That's why they always like, oh, I'm good on this side. And they mean it. But a lot of times they're saying, because you got scared. They saw the gate closing through adrenaline. I'm good, Goofy. He'll get it. She'll get it. Right? All right, let's keep walking.
What about the ones that are disagreeable? What about how the ability to define it?
Now, you define what? Define what you asked.
Define, because I remember at one point he was saying that, the master was saying that disagreeables will come to you as somebody you like.
And they're the spirit. Yeah, right. They're the spirit. Right. Well, what's the difference? See, you have to realize too that divine, because divine still exists in this universe, so there's duality. You have divinely disagreeable, you have divinely agreeable. So the divine, that being as disagreeable and wants to come and confuse or cause you a problem, the reason how you can see through them is if you're truly positive, you're the agreeable being, and they're not. So if they come look like one of you on the sidewalk, something about them will be disagreeable. That feeling, right? Now you're talking about communicating with somebody with your eyes and your mind, but in the other realm, it'll be darkness, it'll be just feeling. Once you connect with your true nasab, with your relative, that feeling will be different. It'll be something off. And then as you start to look at them, if they personify, because they can, if you start to look at them, something looks disfigured, or they will say something that that relative would not have said. If we make the link with them now, something happened around it. 70s and 80s, where that familial link got damaged. Either was because, I can't even say it because women were having children young. That's always been the case. That ain't it. But something happened, even was the influx of narcotics, something that broke that gap. You know, when that crack thing hit, that broke the bridge between parents and children. Because the children had to live to fend for themselves, because the parents were stuck on the drugs or whatever it was. They didn't have crack, but that was most noticeable. And because we as society fed into that so viciously, what do we call the children who had parents that walked crack baby? So NAPCA gave them a misnomer. We don't ostracize them from our communities. So now they grew up saying, F you too. Why? Because I had to take care of myself. I ended up taking care of my mother or my father, whatever, right? So when that bridge was destroyed, that's where the link, and they did that purposely, because now you don't want to link with your grandmother, because you don't know your grandmother, because your mother was out there and your father was out there, and you were raised by the streets or somebody else, so you lost that link. Now, because that link was disrupted, those divinely disagreeable beings can come and play the game on you. But that's good.
No, it was what you're saying basically, with those disagreeable beings, all right, they only vibrate towards you because you're being disagreeable.
Or they see it opening, they just want to feel life again. So they're going to pretend to be agreeable. Remember I first read like trans life? So they're not necessarily coming to you because you're disagreeable. They're coming to you in the hopes that you are or will agree with what you're saying. They don't know yet because they're not heightened. They're just spiritual beings. So what they do is they hover over you, figuring out who you like in your relative that's passed over. They'll come pretending to be them. So they can just either touch you, get you scared, do whatever. Or if you accept, you read in projections and perfection. If you accept one of their disagreeable thoughts, now what? Light attracts lights. They're moving in.
Yeah.
But you do that. But the same way you closed the door by way of adrenaline the first time you saw one of your relatives and wasn't prepared for it, you master the self, you know how to close the door for the unwanted ones. You know how to shun them and back them up. You see what I'm saying? So it's not that every time they come to you, you're necessarily disagreeable. We have the polarities within our nature, of course. But if you're exhibiting the more positive side, they come because it just wants to disrupt that. You see what I'm saying? So again, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, where we lost the connection, where many of us who were a little older, we always went with our grandmothers or grandfathers. In the summer, they were still in the South and we were up north. Yeah. You went down south. and you learned so much down there, and you came back, and you still had that connection with them. Or they lived in the same city. You at grandma's house, it was different than mom's house. Because she's doing things a little differently because of the wisdom she gained through her life experiences. She shared that with more compassion. We forget that when our grandmothers were only mothers, but we wasn't here yet. I'm talking about our grandparents to our parents. They were young. So they were still learning their ways. They was bumping and bruising. So me, you myself, when I see how my moms show all this love to my sons, I have to catch myself because first thought, no, I didn't get all of that. She didn't have all of that to get him. She was in survival mode at that point, learning as a parent, just like I was to my sons. So they're looking at me when I'm giving my grandson, or they're looking like, you ain't beat them? He's only two. So I'm like, these two. Just like, well, used to beat us in here, but I gave them more time than that. They don't understand yet. Because I'm now, through the wisdom of my life experiences, know that being harsh to a child, if I don't have to be, is not necessary. I was being harsh to them because I was like protecting them, like, I got to do this. I can't have you all on me about I'm doing this. But as a grandparent, I don't have to do that. Why? Because it's your goal. That's a part of the whole thrust of life. When you made those babies, you pushed me out of that realm. The forward thrust of life. It begins in the dark. You and her. It begins in the dark. But now we're in the light, and I'm being pushed closer to what? The next level of existence. So we have to be on this mission to learn how to exist there. And the master teacher, being the deity that he is, forget what everybody else is talking about. Goes was that no. Being the deity in flesh that he is, he's giving us the formula for success, and still too many of us reject it. And you wonder why things of these other updates is coming out that don't sound as lovely and flowery as other ones was. Why? He's only reporting what he sees. We were talking earlier. They see, Panakaru see what you do and what you do not. So what we're not doing, despite all this information we've been given, wouldn't you be frustrated if you was trying to tell somebody how to save themselves and they still doing the opposite or not doing the help or being hesitant with the facts? This ain't the fiction. We're being hesitant with the facts that he's shown and proven for decades for those of us who are old enough to remember that. Now, for the newer ones, our younger saviors, cool. You still in a state of bliss because you're alive while he's there, giving it. You following me? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, Dahmer,
Yes, Robert.
is there a difference from the walking and a crawler? That's the first one. Okay. And from the Orion constellation, is that a particular planet we came from that's visible in that constellation?
That's what was the last part of that? That word? Visible?
Yeah, in that constellation. Who wants to know if a planet that we came from?
Oh, yeah, oh, okay. The star constellation of Orion was a particular planet that we from. Nah, because many of us come from different planets in that same star constellation. You know how you find out which one you come from? Is when you transition and those relatives come to guide you there, right? So there was an update that the master teacher gave about the vortex. Going through the vortex, there are going to be different doors. And there are going to be different beings. Some who are non-human, some who are human or grotesque, some are different shape that we're not familiar with. And they're going to be bidding you to come to that door. The master teacher advises us through this update that, again, you have to not have your senses dull so that you can't feel. Literally, you can't feel, be conscious of this tugging. There's going to be a tug, a slight tug that's pulling you to the end of your DNA. That will be whatever world you came from. But you have to be able to feel that because it's going to be your relatives pushing you to the first point in time and space that your DNA or where the atoms that we just read came into existence. If you can't feel that because you're so looking around, you will get lost. You can get trapped in one of those other worlds. Now, the first part question was what? First question?
Is there a difference from a
walk
claw and a crawl?
No, because even, let me put it this way. For those beings that are trying to get into you, even if they say, I'm crawling in, it'll be fast to you because you're so much slower than them. So there's no distinction between a walking or crawling. They're coming. Right? Put it this way. For me, or you, Don, as an adult, and you're playing with a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, and you say, I'm going to throw it slow. And you throw the ball slow to you, and that child, being that they're younger, react too slow and you hit him in the head. You just walk that knot right on his head. But you said I threw it slow. You see what I'm saying? So for us to try to identify the speed with which we have one of those incarnated beings inside of us, it's all going to happen fast and it's going to be almost seamlessly. And if you're not sensitive to the disruption to the frequency of natural nature, you won't know it. You will not know that you had it walking because they're going to just sit in, slide over to the driver's seat, have you do or say whatever it is. And when you're sitting in lockup or you're in the hospital because you got hurt, they leave. Their job was done. They felt the extent of what they needed to feel. And now you, as an injured person or incarcerated person, are no longer used to them. And they go to the next person. So we don't confine, I'm not sure where you got how do you pose the question between a walking and a crawling. I've never heard of a crawling. But there really is no distinction. There's an invasion into your spirit, into your body. And it's going to always seem fast because they're that much faster than you. Like Mazamar Cafe was explaining a couple of classes, just say, how you say that fourth dimensional being can run circles around a three-dimensional being, and the three-dimensional being can actually look and know things that a two-dimensional being can't even envision. So that's how they move to us. They're faster, they're lighter, but you have to know yourself. If you understand your true voice, your true tone, the tones of the sabu or relative that you made connection with, you'll be able to peep anybody that's not a part of that. But you have to be able to what? Feel it. Again, when you go to reflexive projection and attribute the energy, it describes the forces of the energy and the densities that they had. So again, I've never heard of a crawler. You could type it in if you had, but it's all the same. It's an invasion into your body to take over. I pray that answers your question. We have another question? All right. Yes, looked out.
Yeah, I was asked a question by somebody once.
Yeah.
He was telling me that his mother had died a horrific death. So awful.
Like, who gonna tell us? Okay, Dad, just go ahead, man.
A horrific death. She fell. And his whole thing was he was asking me, being that his mother had transitioned like that, would not affect him in his pursuit when he gives up his flesh.
Oh, no. Now, what can affect him, see, I'll take it somewhere else, but what can affect him is if after she transitioned, like, hopefully he wasn't there to witness it. He just found out those are the details, right? And then she had, her transitional ceremony, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully it was where her body wasn't viewed, so he didn't get to see her in that condition. When you ask, does it affect him, it will definitely affect him if he saw her in that damaged condition. But if he only remembers her as alive and well, then that's the only visions he'll have of her. The loss of losing a parent will be there. But the visual image that will burn old in his mind's eye will be of her moving around, et cetera, et cetera. So it's time for him to transition, and she is on the other side, and she's made it, as we read. If she's made it, and she's there to help him, her vision is not going to be of the last way she looked physically. It's going to be of his mom's. My loving mold that's what he's going to see. And even if she knew that seeing her in that last way would hurt him, she would come that way to him. Remember, they're in the higher realms. They have a high understanding of compassion, emotion, empathy, not sympathy, but empathy. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you. So the most important thing I got to explain in and ask him is, did you see her?
Right.
Talk to me.
And I mean, I fear you, but I'll be kind of careful to even ask, because if I ask, I'm bringing it back to him.
All right.
He has to go back and see that again. I say, listen, try to, whatever it is that you have, if you find it disturbing to you, like that, if you find it disturbing to you, every time that comes up, transmute that to another happier vision of her. And if you do that repeatedly, always on point, you'll burn out the other one and the good one will stay. You can also refer him to Barbara's class called Who Knows the Secrets. He talks about that. Who knows from ancient time up to modern time. Who knows the secrets? Like, you've been listening to it, Bill, whether the day tell, you know what I mean? Yes. Yeah. So it wouldn't affect me. Only how he feels here. If he saw that other side of her, the last points of artistic is.
Roderick Watson.
Yes, raw back, like the mom.
Said, do you have 316 degrees of personality evaluate? Blue. Also.
I'll ask. I'll check. Going to Brooklyn next week. I'll check for it.
Also, can you refer any books for a newcomer that comes from personality? Doing my best to help with you people.
I'm not going to say this to you. Bob, that really rock with us. We'll say this to you. These newcomers that you're talking about, are they at least slightly open to hear a different perspective as far as spirituality? Because to a religious person, there is not spirituality, it's just religion. So I'm asking you that. You know the person you're talking to. One of the books I would recommend would be Action Fact number 16, The Birth of Religion. You just start with that. But they're not really open because Bob is not, he's breaking it down. He's the build and the break up down this part right here. And by way of that, they should have more questions. So I would recommend The Birth of Religion. It depends on where they're at, because if they're concerned with well, I just want to go to heaven, and their focus is on afterlife or after this physical life, here you got two books you could get or refer to them, would be The Spiritual You, after physical you dies, and The Cycles of Life and Death. Those two kind of, also 24 Elders, but that's a little more intricate than so far as what happens on that stela on the wall that we have. So I wouldn't push that one on them just yet, but definitely The Birth of Religion, The Spiritual You after the physical you dies, and The Cycles of Life and Death. Those are good starting points. But as students of the master teacher, Bobby Yarnoon, we've also learned that we don't really suggest. We say, hey, you can take them to the website and see on scroll these, look through all these scrolls, which one calls out. Because what the person sees visually, the soul also witnesses. And whatever jumps out to the soul is going to be one that's, oh, I want that one. So I would at least give them that option as well. But again, we all know who we're talking to. When it comes to us about certain things, you have to gauge, we just read that also, you have to have the discernment to know who we're talking to, where their mind state is, right? In certain sacred orders, you could be of a high enough level, but if you meet somebody that's at a lower degree in that same order, you have to meet them what's called the level. And in regular English is level playing field or level conversational parts. So once you find out where they're at, you kind of determine which ones are better for them, as opposed to just saying, here, read the sacred wisdom of the Grand High Fed Tahuti, and you send them to a mental hospital or something like that. They spaz out because they don't, what you mean, non-Tahuti doctrines and stuff like that. So you don't want to take them off the world yet. But like we said, if they're Christians or Muslims or stuff like that, one of the good ones is Birth of Religion. I would say Anunnaki because it does get into the Bible, the Quran, but they're not used to talking about Sumerian doctrine. I wouldn't give them that. Now, I pray that helps. I definitely pray that helps. Any other question? I'm going to read this last part. So, after we know about the beautiful concept of heaven or haven, that docking abode above, the place of the light thereafter, you're going to dock that plane. You're going to drop that plane. So, math teacher, they asked him, Master teacher, can we learn how to visit this haven? Answer, yes, yet not the Adamite cursed steeds of Cain, endorsed their soul, and as all other animals only live with body and spirit, once their body dies, their spirit is trapped on a physical bowl as ghoul, spirit, orbs, shadow, apparition. That is the six beings of the lower evil self. Some in Islamism called the jinn. So you have to be very careful when you seek the higher realms. You may bring up the lower realm, like when the Polish women of Jewishism did when they invented the Ouija board and started the very first seances in Europe and opened a gateway to this abode by evil spirits, shadow beings. So it's nothing to play with. The actual being or soul is composed of atoms or the etheric side. They got the etheric side, that's antimatter, atoms on the etheric side of nothingness, just as the physical being is of atoms on the side of somethingness, the sum of physical things. The difference is in the nutational frequency. Stop. Then when we first started reading this, and Baba said the four divine beings shared the atoms. That's the sharing of it. They can co-mingle because one's on the physical side and the soul ones are on the etheric side. It's still an atom, but in the universe, there's duality. You have matter and antimatter. So that's, again, giving us more insight into commingling without interfering with each other. Because you can't really go there unless you go mentally. Dream state, meditation, etc., etc. So the difference is in the location frequency. And the next being higher, which is the next above, remember I said 4 when we talked about 3. The next above, the soul of your emotional being is known as the mind above or mention plane. This being of the mortals, the fourth and highest being is called the mental being. This is your akul or akal, the mind. This being is not so well defined in most mortals. They don't use their own mental powers. They just get taught by Bible and Quranic fictions and fantasies and only know to relate all things by what the Adamite has named or called things for the last 6,000 years of his own stories, mostly lies, mixed with other races' cultures. So the creative mind is mostly unused until they have developed their own mind as it is being done now with you all. And Wu-Sabat, as Uwai beings with their own culture and language, bringing their spell consciously, conscious being, from its rather nebulous and immature state into the Kahen, divine being, through which you may activate and actively function on the mental abode of existence like all other deities. You're the next generation of master teachers, the prophets to come. Wake up and teach our old people. Clear their minds with the highest estate of divine beings, and remember, jewels of my eye. The Adamites were programmed with a mental defect caused by crossbreeding with the canine, the simian, the porcine. The result being its full brain ability is only that of a 13-year-old child. They never really grow up. And like beasts, they often regress back to their violent, unnatural nature of killing by wars and sports and a history of abuse of all others. Yet, as of you all, when one of your own race, by way and means of intellect, has advanced oneself to the extent that they have fully developed their mental being, they have then also achieved freedom. This is important. They have achieved freedom from the 24 to 24,000 rebirths forever. After they are immortal, or as I taught you all is I am. I pray this here after class is clear until the next. Don't believe, check things out, and I end it right here. It's a little longer, but that's it. All right? You may have your question in that moment. Okay. Well, I bought my gums. Let's go. We're past class, more careful. They go. All right, that's good enough. Bill. No. Roll back. Love it.
Okay. So any questions? No, I got somebody else. What's an infectional rate? Anybody?
Oh, good one. Good one.
I heard my brother saying that the whole time. Y'all swarm. Leave the books. Put the books down.
That's a good question, right?
So so nobody. This is a problem that we have. We have to oftentimes know the meaning of words in order to know what the bill is about. So if you don't know what the basic words in a bill is, you're not even gonna know what the teacher is talking about. And if you don't ask questions, you just became another believer.
That's right.
Right? That's right. So nutational rate. When you look at nutational rate, this is a term that's usually applied in Ishtanu for the wobbling of the axis of a moving body, right? So now this term, when it's applied in science to atoms, it's talking about the rate or the frequency of vibration. So it's not necessarily a spell, but the change is a shift and a higher or lower vibration. So when we talk about non-mutational rates, talk about different vibrational rate. It's higher or one higher than the other. And it's also telling you that now you can have those the four things called what? Divine beings. Yeah, the four divine beings could be vibrated in the same states at the same time within your being on what? Different vibrational levels. Right. Just like your spirit, your soul, and your body. Three, let's label it existence, state of existence. And all those state of existence is in your one body. But because they're vibrating on different rates, right? They're separate, but still in the one vein. In the one vessel, I should say. Right? Coalesce. What coalesce mean?
Never even force. The other day force.
Nobody knows. But we just hear like, we really, coalesce just means towards hard, right? Towards what? Towards hard. So when something coalesce, it becomes more firm. Right. You understand? So these are just basic stuff. So that's that. Any other questions?
Got you. Azamal Don Mary says, Rob Azamal, could you give me a slight build on the science of asking a question to be able to get a better answer, if it is one?
In order to ask a good question, how we was taught is that you have to know enough about the topic first. You can't just be a person who just step in class and just heard me say something and go, hey, what's that? No, you have to know enough about the topic. If you know enough about the topic, then you'll have a real good question. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like I was saying earlier, any topic you talk about, if a person is building a topic, keep in mind, a good speaker can say anything. And the people in the crowd be like, that brother's deep. Right? Because they know how to talk. But are they saying anything for real? And the only way you'll know that is you have to know enough of the information that they're talking about. So that you can say, okay, I got a question. You said this, brother. And I want to know what you meant by this because I know that mutational rates mean this. But you said you applied it to arteries. You see that? Right. A person who knows, who studies, they'll say, oh, hold up. I never knew mutation rates apply to atoms. Right? Because they're like, that's an astronomy term. But that's a good person to ask to teach you, right? Right? But that would mean that you knew enough about the basics of what the teacher was saying in order for you to ask a good question. Some people say stuff like, some people say there's no super question because there's none. But some questions, you could just look it up also. Meaning, but with right knowledge, our information is on a certain level where, like for instance, you know how you have AI today? Do you actually think that AI could write a copy of book? No, it can't. Because the AI system that's built today is only built on the information within the confines of the plane. But when you look at the information we have, it's outside of the plane. We have terms like overstanding. AI is not going to give you overstanding. Fix this word for me. And I'm like, you mean understanding? Like, right. Many things that we teach in our doctrine is outside the scope of what the average human said. That's why we would say, or the master would say, he wait to listen to people out there who's teaching to see if we have a visitor as opposed to a resident. What's the difference? A resident is a human who teach information based on information that's on the plane. That means anyone can find that information. But a visitor going to give you something a little more different that you never heard before. You know what I'm saying? So most of the teaching that we teach is information that most people never heard. And if you heard it today from me or my brother, it's because they heard it from our master teacher already. And they're up there making videos on it as if it's from them. Right? You ever had people out there talking about 3 spots on the baby and what this means? He's like, where you got that from? You know damn well you got that from the Newarkians. But they're not saying our name. When people say ether, right? Where you got that from? When people say ether, but non-ether? Come on, stop. Scientists been through away the term ether years ago. Dr. Yoke is the only ones using that term, right? So it's a lot of information that we give, and the way we give it and the way we break it down is totally different from how they teach it. Because we're not coming from their institutions of learning. We have our own, because why we was here before them. And because we was here before them, we had science, we had mathematics, we had geometry, we had strategy that they don't have and they don't know about. Represented? So any other questions?
Like the term information, right?
Affirmation. They
Use that.
They don't use affirmation. They use information, right? And affirmation, that's us letting you know that our formation comes from outside.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Right? And when it comes inside the plane and people get accustomed to it, it becomes information. And information is supposed to get you to a point where it transforms you. But it by itself doesn't really transform people. No, it just informs them. So a person could get the information as a form of affirmation and just have knowledge. But it doesn't necessarily have to transform you unless you apply it now.
Right.
Right?
So that's a lot of even to the point now where they're bombarding us with a lot of extraterrestrial information. A lot of it, when I listen to it, is like now they slowly but surely doing a lot of admittance to the stuff. You know, they'll throw stuff into the master's saying, and like I noticed in doing a little research, a lot of these higher so-called like beings that they have coming, they're trying to, when I look at it, transform people's thoughts too. So this battle is going on as far as the knowledge. Is language more so, because you spoke about language, is language more so the spell that they trap us in with using words like to make you think that something sounds right, looks right, but the language, is that really the barrier with the whole information thing?
Yes, that's a part of it. That's why I would say the spell is on what? Words, right?
Word.
And every religion on the planet starts off with the word, right? You have the Bible, where they say, in the beginning was the word. You have the Quran, Kalimaya. They say the first part, the words that Allah, but it was what? Come, twice, come. Oh, what's another one? And let's go to science. It deals with a word too, but in the sense of what are words? Sound, right?
Right.
And they'll tell you creation started off with what? A big
Right. Bang.
right? Which is a sound. And if you take that back to Egypt, what is that? Who? The creative. Who was the creative force of will? But what is it dealing with? Divine utterance. It's words, right? And what are words? Nothing but vibrations. So all of this based on vibration. Now, what happened is there's two types of teachers on the planet. Yeah, or I should say two types of saviors. You can find this in the Black Book. Baba Ben taught us about this stuff. Saba is a question in there that talks about the Saba, right? And the Saba we know from the Hebrew means host. And the heavenly host is nothing but angelic beings. And angelic beings are what? Angels or what? What do angels mean? Messengers. So there's two types of angels on the planet. Those who got right knowledge and those who have wrong knowledge. They both are spreading their message on the planet. But what happened is the children of light, they're spreading their information much faster than us. We're the children of the green light, but we're doing it very slow. We jump up on our home platform teaching instead of teaching the world. You see what I'm saying? We're supposed to go out there and become a Dr. York so that people can see you and say, hey, who are you? Where did you get that from? And then eventually when they see that you're back, then you say, oh, I learned from the masters. But out there, you're a master out there. What was that? So they're giving their message. So most of the teaching that people are teaching out there, if it's not from us, it's from the children of the Ember, fire, right?
Right.
And like, look at religion. Religion is something that came from Unwa or Wu-Sabat. That's the reason why we're able to take religion and say, well, heaven is at Orion. We can show you the Pope in the Bible, right? Joe, Nana, right? We can show you the Pope and say, that's Orion. But in Egypt, he called it, in ancient time, we called it Saho. Today we call it Sahat, right? So that was heaven to the ancient Sumerians or the ancient Egyptians. However, if you go into the scriptures, they purposely made the Egyptians a group of evil people Because a Christian would tell you the Egyptians are, they're bad. They're ego. You was taught by the disagreeable angelic beings who gave you that religion to go against your own self. You know what I'm saying? Because our ancestors, how you do history, when you study history, you gotta line it up. What I mean by that is this. Did the Egyptians exist? Even if they didn't call themselves Egyptians, the Kemites or the Tamarines, did they exist? Do we have records that they existed? Did they leave carvings on the wall? Did they ever talk about their encounter with the Israelites? Ever? No. Do the Israelites exist? Today, in a book, right? Just like Santa Claus exists today in the minds of people, but he's not a real character. He's a made-up figure. Well, the Israelites are made-up figures. You know what I'm saying? Jesus. They gave people this concept of Jesus, and Jesus is really a concept that goes back to Egypt. We didn't call the person Jesus, but that figure. That figure is in all of Eastern cultures with a different name. So in the Bible, you find them under the English word Jesus. In the Greek, you find them under the word Isos. In the Arabic, which is really from the Greek, you find them under the word Isa. And then in ancient, let's go to Hinduism, you find them under what? Hare Krishna. You can hear the Christ word them there.
Right.
And this all goes back to Tammuz of ancient Sumeria. And you go way back to who? Har or Horus, but some people say Haru of ancient Egypt. That is the Jesus figure in Egypt or in ancient Tamarit or ancient Philly. However, when they give you a watered down version, they give you their Jesus, their Christ, which has nothing to do with us as the original people on planet Earth, because their story of their Jesus is how old is the biblical stories?
Not even 6,000.
Right? So the Christianity, the Bible goes back with 2,000. Islam goes back to 1,400. The Torah goes back to some almost 6,000. All this is going way back. It's coming from the ancient Babylonian tablets. Then going back to the ancient Egyptian stelas on those walls. Or the stone slabs. Right? So in order for misinformation to exist, it needed to have right information to distort. So they took our ancient knowledge and distorted it and gave people religious books, religious doctrines. You know what I'm saying? And this happened over and over. And how are they doing it? They're doing it through words. And another thing they did was this. They wrote books. We have a problem here where people think you can't write books. You heard this, Paul? Which is a sick philosophy. Did the master teacher teach that?
No.
No. Now think about this. The evil one, right? Their philosophy is when you go to college, right? For those of you who went to Oliver, you took your own, you got your degree, you did your dissertation,
Right.
You're required to write a book. You do know that, right? So what happened is this. If I created my institution that's full of lies, and I create a bunch of authors, right? What's going to happen? Eventually, I'll rate that men go first in my books, right? And then I have my colleagues who went to school with me write another book to confirm what I just said. What does his book become for me? A reference point.
That's right.
A reference point. So if they keep doing this for generations, they will have references for a whole bunch of lies. And it'll be multiple of the Amberlite children with books that reference lies all day. And then the people that's listening and watching, they'll go and reference the same lies. So when you come as one person with only one author, right? What happens? People go and say, well, he's the only person saying it. How do you got to start verifying information by what? Breathing more authors. To what? Make your own references, because this is our culture, right? You should be writing a book on Egypt. You should be writing a book on extraterrestrial. You should be writing a book on some aspect of the culture. You know what I'm saying? So that there's references within our culture. So you can say, hey, yeah, that person go, well, Dr. Yo was the only one writing it. Well, did you read Brother Cafferate book? Or did you read Brother Sabat book? Or did you read Sister So-and-so book? These are other people in the culture who also write books, right? So to verify home information, because that's what they're doing. Only difference is our information is actually right and exact. We can explain. You know what I'm saying? They can't explain half the things that they have references in. And because they have a reference, people think it's true. And that's where the concept, people say evil is fair seeming.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They make you think that which is right is wrong, and that which is wrong is right. You know what I'm saying? So we are here to change that. And doing that, many people are not going to like us. But we don't care. Because we're here to save the souls of the people on the planet. And if they don't like us to save your soul, it's okay. But guess what? There's always people that's going to listen to you, regardless of the ones who don't want to listen.
Right.
So if a person want to say, Jesus is their Lord and Savior only, and that's it for them, cool. We understand that that's how far your DNA goes. It's okay. Another person going to say, Muhammad is my last prophet. We say, cool. Take the Arabian prophet and do what you got to do. Another person may say, Moses is their partner. You know what I'm saying? Take Moses and keep it going. We're saying we're going back to ancient Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Where our culture, the foundations of everything that's on this planet, came from that. That's the cradle of civilization. Everybody learned from Egypt. Everything that people know in religion comes from Egypt. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we had in this day and time.
I got an online question from our Zamal Don. He's asked, it was two questions. The first one is, how did the Hadron Collider open up vortexes and can it be resealed? That's one question.
Okay. So you gotta understand something. You have dimensional beings, you have interdimensional beings. So dimensional beings, or to say extraterrestrial, these are the physical form ones. Because they have a body like us, they are on the same time as us, right here. So in order to create a vortex, they learn how to tear holes in states.
Right.
And how they do that is by what? Atom smashing, right? So they created the Hadron Collider in order to rip holes in space to open up vortexes into the other dimensions. Because once again, everybody on the planet is in contact with extraterrestrials. This is a concept that they would like to make you think that most people are not. They want to make you think have a Hollywood mindset that when you say extraterrestrial, you must be watching some alien movie or something like that. No. Like you said earlier, brother, in this game time, more people or more the government is revealing everything they've been saying back in the days about extraterrestrials and spacecrafts and things of that nature. It's all being revealed in this day and time now. So all the people that was saying was crazy, if they're watching the news, right, they're like, damn, he was actually right, right? If they would admit it, right? But now, since they're masters, because most people's master is Caucasians, you know, meaning that's their source, that's their reference. If he don't say it, it's not a fact. We are on a different line where we are black conscious. And not just because of blackness, but because of that's the source of everything. And we understand that the ancient masters were Nagars or Negroes. You know what I'm saying? And because they were Negroes, they was able to come as one of us and give us certain information that we accept from our own. Just like everybody on the planet accept anything that the Makasu say. You know what I'm saying? And that's another spell within itself. Because they have to first get you to hate yourself to not want to listen to one who looks like you. Right? And that first thing was through religion. And the sad thing is that your parents are the one that aided your religion. So your parents is under the spell, and they have a tradition of teaching it to the children. And when they taught once they believed that in that white Jesus, or that white Muhammad from Arabia, right, or that white Moses from Egypt, right? Once they did this, and gave it to the children, then the children then had an inferiority complex, and it went on and on. So they open up vortexes by smashing atoms, and that's why they create the Hadron Collider.
All right. The second question is, do disagreeable entities use it, the vortex, only? And can all beings use it, agreeable and disagreeable?
Vortexes can be used by many different people, or different beings, I should say. So we have our beings that can use them, and other beings that's on other dimensional levels, they can use them as well. But they can create their own, because you can create a vortex. And the master had taught us how it's simple. So if you have two objects coming towards each other, one could be traveling at 50 miles per hour, other one could be traveling less than that. Once they cross each other's path, right, they're going to create an energy like a whirlwind, a whirlpool. And that whirlwind that they create is a vortex. You know what I'm saying? So some extraterrestrial beings who know how to do it, when you're looking at the Hadron Collider, that's just a machine that's doing it for them inside of this huge laboratory. Because what a Hadron Collider is, that's a huge place, right? Just for that situation to occur. So disagreeable beings do this with it as well. And the one that's called the Hadron Collider, it belongs to the disagreeable beings. But the disagreeable beings have a way of making a thing public and normal so that the public can look at them as crazy. So we could be representing the Hadron Collider and don't even know they're using that to tear space in this spot that we call Earth right now.
Mm-hmm. All right. We have another question from Al-Zamal Satak, Kwabina Nati, Raobat. When speaking to a Hebrew Israelite, how do I explain Abraham's seed being taken into a strange land for 400 years? He's saying the Hebrew Israelites are saying to him, that was us in America, like they always say.
We used to say that too, right?
Like this.
So what happens is a lot of stories in the scriptures are taken from other concepts, right? So because it's taken from other concepts, if a person is still in the mind state of being a Hebrew Israelite, first we have to understand this. It's many things in the scriptures that come from true sources, right? Like Abraham himself, that was an Egyptian person too, called really Tetsi, right? No, the state is yes, Tetsi. So this is an Egyptian story, right? But not the whole story, just the birthing. You know what I'm saying? Meaning you could find this person with 3 wives, just like Abraham had 3 wives. Now, when looking at the whole concept of people being taken in a land for 400 years that's not theirs, it sounds good, right? We took in a land in 400 years that's not ours, right? But let's be real. How long have black people been in America? 400 years? Let's be real. Let's be factual now. We came here before the continental drift. Go look up in Google, how long did it take for the landmass to break apart? Now we're talking facts now. We could talk biblical mythology and then talk reality. The reality is that we've been here on what we call in North America long before 400 years, right? That's another trick that people like to do to make us think that we only came from Africa alone. No, the whole concept of the slave trade, but when they tell you the 400 years of being there thing, what they're trying to connect you to is the slavery thing. Now, us as Nawapians or Sabians, we understand that we was never slaves, right? So slavery don't exist in our mind. We know that the international crime called kidnapping, 30 Africans was kidnapped from the motherland and brought over here, right? However, there was already Africans in America, or what they call in America, long before the continental drift. When I'm saying this, I'm saying it for a reason. Continental drift is a key. Because you go look, when did the landmass break? That's millions of years ago. You know what I'm saying? So who was here? Those people was called the Olmec or the Nuba. And they was here long before a 400-year slave trade. You know what I'm saying? So that's mythology. Also, the Israelites, there is no realistic Israelites. You know what I'm saying? No realistic Israelites that were black people. You know what I'm saying? That's a biblical myth. Now, if you want to relate it to someone, you can relate it to the Hyksos, because the Hyksos dynasty was in Egypt, right? And conquered Egypt for some 400 years. Right? They did that, right? But they was not called Israelites. But we could say that's the closest reference point. So we could say those are the Israelites. And if we say the Hyksos are the Israelites, is the Hyksos like a white? What? White people. So the Israelites is white people. Hyksos, shepherd kings, shepherd dogs. You know what I'm saying? Those are the people, that's the real Israelites. But because the black people want to worship their master's book, how you want to talk about slavery and you still got the slave master's Bible? Talking about, that don't make no damn sense. You got the slave master's Bible talking about, and this right here is us, brother. Abraham, we older than Abraham. You know what I'm saying? That character is not real. But like I said, we could take that story and say, this is where it came from. They took this out of Egypt and put it here in the Bible, or what they call in the little book, right? So if you want to deal with religious mythology and staying there, yeah. When we was in the school of Nubian and Atomic Hebrew, we used to use that same foolish quote, right? We was all the religious quotes that relates to that black people could relate to, right? But once we left that school, it's like leaving kindergarten and going to first grade, and leaving first grade and going to second, and then finally going to the university, and then going to the omniversity. We're in the omniverse. Right. We're no longer in kindergarten with that religious garbage. Right. But if a person genuinely wants to know as a Hebrew Israelite, we could give you this the closest reference, the Hicks source. That's the only concept with the 400, or it was actually 430 years, right? That the Hyksos ruled Egypt, right? But in reality, that story is not real. Just like most or 90% of the Bible in the Quran, in the Torah, is not real. But if a Hebrew or Muslim or Christian hear me say that, they're like, you a damn devil. I mean, he's like, you know what? It is what it is. If telling the truth is a devil, call me a devil. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because their own book says you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. Make you free. Make you free, right? Right? So, we call the people of truth. We tell the truth. And oftentimes, people don't like the truth. But that's the truth. And truth is truth. You know?
And also, they rule all of Egypt just apart, right?
Now, Billy Roll.
Yeah. Now we get to Carlos and I.
Ran them up out of there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Nothing online, anything in the room? Says towel hat. You take out there, fools them all.
It's like recently, yeah, people. If I said I'm against Jesus, I'm against Christ, what they will call you?
Antichrist.
Antichrist, right? Now, what does Antichrist mean to the average Christian?
Against Christ.
Against Christ, right? But what does anti mean in Greek? Substitute. Substitute. A substitute Christ. That's what Antichrist means in Greek. A replacement Christ. That's what it means. And even in the scriptures, if you go in the Bible, it talks about another Christ. Yep. In the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Let me see about fun. So 2 Corinthians 11:14. Kids, listen to their books. Everybody like, Jesus the Lord is the only one and none of that crap, right?
He came to everyone.
So 2 Corinthians 11:14. 11:4. So it says this. For if he that cometh preaches another Jesus, whom we have not preached, or if ye receive another script which ye have not received, or another gospel which ye have not accepted, ye might well bear with him. So it says, well, he that cometh preaches another Jesus. You know what I'm saying? In there, the book tells you about, and that will be Antichrist, because anti in Greek means substitute, right? So it's these type of concepts that this is when you say this is outformation as opposed to information, because everybody else will say anti means against Christ. You against Jesus Christ, right? No, anti means a substitute Christ. That's all. A lot of people are still stuck in lower grades of knowledge. And what's sad about it is they're actually getting new subscribers to that garbage every day. Why? Because every organization, whether it's religious or business, they always find their best speakers and put them in the front. So we look at a Hebrew Israelite organization, they will make sure, let me get the strong voice brother who look like he know talk now, right? Let me get the dummy to read this quote. Read, but and we said, just because you yell, that doesn't mean it makes sense. Right? It doesn't make no sense. And if it's 2025, do you still out there screaming the white man's Bible at the same time saying to against the white man? Right. You're foolish. How about get rid of that guy? If you against white man, you'll miss book 2. Right? That's it, Bible. Right.
Yep.
But that's the spell. The spell is so strong that they can't even see. And then some people go and tell you who love Christianity so much, they go, but Christianity started in Ethiopia. Gosh, no, it wasn't. Christianity that you see in Ethiopia came to Ethiopia. The word Ethiopia is not even an African word. Stop it. That's a Greek word. Right. Ethiopia means what? Birth faces in Greek. That's not an African name. So even the names in Africa, many of those names are not even from the motherland. It's from an invader. You understand? So that is a lie. Christianity was brought into Ethiopia, just like it was brought to America. It was there everywhere else in the world. And this is stuff that people don't want to see. But like I said, it's our job opening eyes. If they want to keep their eyes closed, it's okay. We're not here for you. We're only for the people who want to know. This we have a time that the master always gave us to say, yo, the hourglass almost empty. He now says what? It is empty. So we don't got the time to play religious games with people no more. If you are a sincere Christian, a sincere Muslim, a sincere Hebrew, and you want to learn, come to the Quran to learn, not to batter that white man's book. We don't care about the white Arabic Quran. We don't care about the white man's Christianity Bible. We don't care about the white man's Torah. We don't care about it. It has nothing to do with us. Those books are very young. How old is the black race?
Millions of years.
No. There's no birth records of the black man and black woman. Because we're older than time itself. So don't give me no book that's 6,000 years old and tell me that's my book. Adam and Eve are people. There wasn't the first 2 people. And their names wasn't even Adam and Eve. So stop. Right? So we got to stop playing this fairy tale game called religion and give it back to the people that created it. It was never created for us. It was created for what? The purpose of making cattle, turning humans to cattle. And what people don't realize is that there's a spirit force behind religion, and those spirit force is called the Anunnaki, or the Nun, or the Anakin, right? These beings, not all of them, but the ones that's responsible for those books are flesh-eating demons. You heard us say? Cannibals. And they're responsible for all the cannibalistic quotes that you see in the scriptures today. Hebrew Israelites, I remember back in the days talking to these brothers on 42nd Street, and they would give you this stupid story talking about, yeah, they ate our own people because at the time, we didn't have no food. I'm like, you really want to say some foolish stuff like that?
On the mic.
Yeah, you really want to say something stupid like that? Listen, that has nothing to do with us. We ain't the people that be eating people. People that's close to eating people is the one you see eating food medium rare. That's not us. And if you see us start doing it, that's us trying to be our master. You know what I'm saying? The master. You know what I'm saying? That's not our culture. So, considering that the spirit force behind it is the Anunnakis, right? And these beings are not for us. Right. Only Anunnakis that's for us is the ones that's on the Thar Nekr, or the Thar. You know what I'm saying? And we know who they are by name. Enki, he's under the Neptune. You know what I'm saying? And some of his offspring.
Right.
Enlil, leader, one of the leaders of the Anunnaki. And these are your Yahweh, right? Or your Elohims, or your, what's that? El Shaddai. You know what I'm saying? These are the names that they give you in the scriptures of the Anunnakis, but under new titles and new names in different languages. Even the word Anunnaki is in the scriptures, but it's not under the word Anunnaki just like that. You have to go into the word. Like you said, the spell is on words. There's a quote. The head of the Anunnaki is called who? Anu, right? A-N-U.
Right.
So, in the scriptures, anytime you, and what do Anu mean? In its uniform. On high. So, in the Bible, anywhere you see the word above,
is the word anu. You got to go into the language. When you go into the language, you see the name anu. There's a quote in the Bible where Jesus says, I am from above and you are from beneath. You go into the Strong Concordance and look up the word above. He's saying, I am from Anu. You understand? There's a name in the scriptures called Anak, A-N-A-K. Anak, right? That's a female name in the scriptures. That is an Anunnaki, one of the women of the Anunnaki. You understand? We knew her as a wife of Hela, right? Now, you tell people stuff like, when you hear Christians say hallelujah, right? They don't even realize that they're giving praise to the devil. But they say it so often and so casual that they think it's a good thing, right? But in reality, hallelujah or hallelujah is giving praise to Hela. Who is Hela? Adonaki, you know. And if you want to be clear, and go to the book of Isaiah 14:12, right? Come on. Come on, Shambai. You go to Isaiah 14:12. Most people on the planet know the devil by his Greek name, which is what? Oh, I should say, his Greek name, Lucifer. They even made a movie about him. People watch it and have fun. I like Lucifer in that movie. Get you to like the devil. Right. I watched it. I'm like, Pam, they good with the cinema. It gets you to like the devil in the second. He was a good guy. Right. He what? Louis Cypher. Hey. So when you look at the word Lucifer, if you go to Isaiah 14:12, it says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? Now, when you look at that quote, what it says, how art thou fallen from heaven? So it's telling you this is the fallen angel, old fool, Lucifer. Now, if you look up the Strong Concordance in the Hebrew, the Greek word Lucifer, Lucifer is in English that people accept is Lucifer. That's his name. But if you go into the Hebrew, his name is Hallel. Strong's number H1966. Don't believe me? Check it out. That's his name. So it says son of the morning. Now, to most people, when they hear son of the morning, what they think? Son of the raging sun, right? They think in the son of the morning, right? No. The word in the English, it literally says S-O-N, son, Lucifer, son of the morning. And son in Hebrew is Ben. So that's a son, meaning just like you have a child, that's a son. Who is the father? So in Hebrew, a lot of times people have names in Hebrew where they'll go, son of such and such. Right. You know what I'm saying? So his name was Halal ben Shakal, because the word for morning in the Hebrew is Shakal. So all this telling you is, oh, Lucifer, the angel that fell, who is, it's saying, oh, Halal, right, the angel that fell, son of Shakal. So the devil has a father. You know what I'm saying? And this all tied right back into the Anunnaki's culture, because he's nothing but another Anunnaki. You know what I'm saying? And in different languages, he can be called Nanar. You know what I'm saying? Iblis. What else? Beelzebub. What else? Thanos. Satan. Mm-hmm. And the Muslims say Shaitan. All the names are still the same person name in different languages. But going back to the initial point, when a person says hallelujah or hallelujah, they're saying praise to Allah, praise to Lucifer. So they give him praise to the devil in their own religion. And there is no word in the scriptures that you can't find the word hallelujah in the scriptures. And some people will tell you, oh, you find in Revelation 19 where it says hallelujah. Listen, just because you put an H in front of a made-up word hallelujah, right? Remember, it says hallelujah. Now, when you look up the word hallelujah in the biblical, you'll find that they'll tell you that means praise. This is where the trick comes in too. But if you really know, Revelation is what part of the Bible? Old Testament or New Testament?
New Testament.
New Testament. So what language is the New Testament written in? Greek. So now, I will challenge anyone right now to look up the word praise in Greek, and you'll never find the word hallelujah. You'll find it. Panos. You know what I'm saying? Or doxata, but you'll never find hallelujah because that's is a made up word. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things that we get taught by our master to show people. We can show forth our mastery when we start teaching, when we start talking. Being here to put you to sleep. We had to wake you up. You know what I'm saying? Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah. I didn't want to get into this debate with this cat, but he tried to tell me, and I said, that's not facts. He tried to tell me that we was discussing about Dracula, and he's trying to tell me that the dude from ancient time was Dracula was a Nubian. And I was like, nah, that was such that's I didn't see it.
Right. He probably talking about Eddie Murphy.
Oh.
Darren by the book. You'll be getting mixed up with movies. You ever see people do the big a lot and kick and give you a reference to a movie? Like, that ain't no fact. That's a movie.
I know you lying.
Oh man, cause we was discussing that new movie coming out, Sinners. And I was telling them they putting a lot of this, blood-sucking, eating, vampire stuff to the public. And they should get trapped up in it because that's the Anunnaki,
The question you should have asked him, what is his reference in that Draco? Oh, he probably talking about the rapper, Draco. Probably talking about that, not the person. But at the end of the day, right, listen, Draconians, right? We know that they are reptilians. And these reptilians, and just to be clear, religious people believe in reptilians too. How do you know? Because religious people believe that a woman named Eve was talking to a serpent, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how these serpents talk, but religious people believe that the serpent can talk, right? So that is a form of a reptilian, you know what I'm saying? Which come from the lineage of the Draconians, you know what I'm saying? Where the word Dracula come from, right? Because these were bloodlusting beings. Right? We know the real story of Genesis 3 with the woman and the serpent, but just for example, most religious people already believe it. They believe in Revelation where it talks about a dragon with 10 heads and 7 horns, 7 heads and 10 horns. That's a dragon. There's also quotes in the scriptures. If I ask the average Christian, do you believe in unicorns? Are they real? What they'll say, nah, they're not real. Right. Well, your God think it is in this mythological book. Because there's unicorns mentioned in your Bible. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of things, there's a lot of characters that people consider mythological that can be found in the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? Centaurs are in the scriptures. Mermaids are in the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? And people just ignore it. But these things are actually in the book. When we will come and say, yeah, mermaids exist, a Christian will laugh at us. But hold up, what's guy in your book? Why is your Pope with the fish head, with the fish animal, huh? If it doesn't relate to some type of, why is the symbol for Jesus sometimes the fish? Right? It must be linked to some serpent beings from the seas, right? Some reptilian something, right? So this is all about the reptilians called, or the Draconians that we know as the Anunnakis. And we have to get this message in our people's head because our people are going to end up dining with the doctrine of other than suffering kind, thinking something good is going to happen because you left being a Christian or you left being a Muslim. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to wake up because we know that there's no death, right?
Right.
And we could take that in the science. Science will tell you that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So if the human body made of energy called atoms,
That's right.
so it cannot be destroyed. So once the physical body decomposed, that energy being, that energy aspect of you, whether you want to call it spirit, whether you want to call it a soul, it still exists. And guess what also exists? That's spiritual. The mind. Think about it. Where is the mind? We point at the head, but it ain't in the head. Right? The mind is a spiritual entity. And it has to exist if a person believe in what they call life after death. Because if the mind don't exist after you so-called die, what is hell? You still have to have the memory of things that you did wrong to go to hell, right? You need the memory to be punished. Because if the mind is not real, if it's not spiritual, then when you die, that's just it. Right? But we know that's not a concept. At the same time, Draconians are a thing that's over the music industry. They push a concept called YOLO. You only live once. That's another game to get you what? Live this physical life to the fullest. Do anything you want to do. Right?
Like doing
Because you're going to die. You only got one life. All the fools going to transition and be like, I'm still alive. I'm still here. Yeah. And you're still on this planet too. Hey, mom, and she can't hear you for nothing. Hey, dad. Hey, my brother. No one can hear you because you're on a different vibration level now. Right? And in this different vibration level, you don't even know how to overcome that plane of existence that you're on. Because you never was a part of no studious school of thought to teach you how to scale planes of existence. Because most humans think that the physical plane is all that actually exists.
Right.
And that's a lie. But most people, they're going to find out when they die. Those people who meditate, they know there's a spiritual realm. They know that there's realms beyond realms. You know what I'm saying? People who have a spiritual background, they know that there's something beyond the physical. Religious people, they don't know. You know what I'm saying? And those are the people that we're here for. We're here for people who don't know. Yes, you know what I'm saying?
All right. Nothing online at the moment.
We need to stop asking Baba the same questions over and over. You know what I'm saying? I mean, same questions being asked. I'm like, he answered that already. Why are you trying to look for other answers? Like the whole concept of he saying, wait, what he said about food with us. What do we eat? And say, what was the straight answer? We don't eat things that has earth, right? Why ask another question beyond that? Just get to the point and say, there's different stages of people. Different growth levels, right?
Right.
Some of us are probably more into the concept of we say I'm gonna eat pure, right? It's just like having Orthodox and Sunni, but I don't want to use those terms in our culture. But you have those who are more strict. The strict Sabian doesn't eat meat, right? But does he eat anything that has count? The Sabian who's not strict on their diet, they probably eat fish. They probably eat shit, right? And you find this in every culture. So it's not to play people in the culture. It's just to say, this is the real answer. Don't overlook the real answer because of your physical urges, right? You may not be ready to elevate to the level you want to say, I don't want to eat meat anymore. And that's okay. I ain't here to badger you. You know what I'm saying? It's just this, but let's just be real. When it comes to certain topics, this is the answer. And don't give that watered down crack. The watered down is for the people you're just not ready to move to that level when it comes to health. That's it. And I mean, there's many questions like that get hit with Baba where you already answered, and the answer always come back differently, just to make you happy. You go, oh, so we can't eat chicken, but you know what? You can't eat chicken. Just don't eat blood meat. Don't all meat have blood in it? Yeah. It's the same. That's what Baba does. Is just like you ever watch martial arts movies, and a student may not want to listen to the master. And the master may tell them something just to get them out of their face. Like, here, I know I told you the answer. You want, okay, whatever you say.
Right. Do it that way.
Whatever you feel. Real.
Yeah.
But we do have an answer for certain things that's asked to the master.
You know?
Even a concept of how many cycles. I think I saw that online. How many cycles for the woman? Now we know that the woman is sacred in our culture, right?
Right.
A virgin woman is truly sacred. I'm gonna be real with you. That's the real deal. You know what I'm saying? A virgin. You know what I'm saying? Sacred feminine, right? The other sisters, what you're supposed to do is because you didn't get the information at the time you're supposed to get it,
Right.
you got it too late. Teach your daughters to be virgins and be a woman to only one man. And whatever you've been through, that's what you've been through. We all go through life and do something wrong, and we have to learn. So the next generation of children are supposed to be the what? Perfection of you, right? So that question keep on getting hit to the master, like, how many cycles to clean my body? None. That's the answer. I'm starving. The answer is none. He could come back and say, 79 cycles. No, it's not. It's a ritual that has to be done for the sacred woman. And that's something that Baba have to be here to teach you. That's it. That's the real insight thing. So if you're a woman who has more than, we say more than 4, but in reality it's more than 1. You know what I'm saying? If you're a woman that has more than 1, just understand you made a mistake in your life and teach your daughters to be sacred feminine. That's it. That's the real answer. You know what I'm saying? And there's no shade on the women because us men have bad things that we did too, that we have to overcome as well. To become what? Sacred, masculinized. You know what I'm saying? Well, we're not going to play we don't want to sugarcoat our doctrine. This is the real teaching. This is the hard, harsh reality. And this is what it really is. You know what I'm saying? But make sure our young princesses, your Martags, they become the sacred feminines for the future of our tribe.
All right. Nothing online.
That recent reading time.
Oh, you know what? Oh, I got to read criminal. Who? What's going on? Okay. And since you're on that top, no questions?
Nah, man, go ahead, go ahead. Since you're on that top, wait, no questions? Nah, bro.
Okay, I got to hear it.
That's all question was for.
Okay, so this reading is called the Heart Seat. Okay, y'all ready for this? Stop. It's from the master teacher, Anabability, sex, number 1. The secret of the inner sun, the solar plexus, heart seat. The woman holds the key to your genetic future from her genetic past of 4 generations. She has the mitochondrial DNA, your bloodline stories. This is why I speak of the present woman and 4 males counterparts. I am also speaking about the past 4 generation of women and her family. As the males, they exchange bodily fluid, such as the semen, sperm, and testosterone. So, the present you, as a female, have to protect your family line, your mitochondrial DNA. And that means the only male nuclear DNA in your body is from your father at birth. Once you grow to womanhood, the only male testosterone that should flow through your person should be from your father and his past 4 generations. Yet, being a XX female, your feminine should dominate your genes. So, you have behind your heart gland the central sun, your heart seat. Plugged into it is the solar plexus, heat of light and emotion of your being. You have 4 chambers to your heart. This is symbolic of your being, feelings, love, emotion, and the family, and how you affect the future. If you have one other male in your life as a mate, and you digest, consume, absorb his bodily fluid, only that would replace your father's XY. His Y will dominate your father's. It will still be a part of your past, yet this is the making of your future, of your feminine bloodline. So, your first chamber of your heart seat is shared with the love of your father and the love of this new XY male, Yamin, Chancellor, or husband. Solar plexus man, soul mate. So the inner sun's light is still burning bright and is even seen in your eyes and on your face when you look at that man you love. And your physical body reacts to his presence when around you. You're still a whole female deity with full mitochondrial DNA power. If you break up with this first or second man in your life, first spark, second mate, your love life returns to the first. You'll change because you took in your second male's XYs, Ys, his seed, his semen, sperm, and his male testosterone, his male hormones, and that has become part of you and your future DNA-wise. And if you meet the third male and become attracted to him and engage in sexual acts with him, and your body takes in his XY, male hormone, testosterone, semen, and sperm, then a new war begins in your body. The male hormones fight your female hormones. This is why when a male or female decides to try and change genders, they have to take pills and shots of the opposite sex to have physical and mental changes. Well, this also happens to you when you as an XX female take in many mates, XY, into your body. You change independent of how many by age 46. You have returning changes you don't even realize. Your moniker, body, spirit, all becomes more masculine than feminine. By the time you have taken in 4 men, your inner feminized solar light is dimmer and dimmer. You no longer know how to love or truly feel devotional love or true emotional love. You have taken in too many Y chromosomes and hormones and testosterone of males. This is why you have to protect and teach your daughters how they affect your family future by her mitochondrial DNA. In the West, the children of the devil and their daughters taught you to swallow as many good for your skin. They lied to you. Oral sex is from them, does affect your body, just as is said, you are what you eat and drink. One and only one male, your soulmate, that is okay for whatever kinds of sex. Yet, multi-males in your life have affected your mitochondrial DNA and your family's future. What was in each male's history is now in your history. That includes sickness, diseases, and even insanities. The Western world and their lack of morals, free open sex with whomever, has affected our whole solar race by getting the cursed seed of their women genetic markers, mark of the beast, while their women is ever ready to drink a black man's divine seed. So, this is what I meant by more than 3 males, and your divine light dims and go out. You have confused your inner divine female deity, so you were misled by the seed of the devil. Don't make that same mistake with your daughters. Teach them this message from your ancestors. Protect our divine seed if you wish to travel the stars, to return home above. Once you have lost your pure, fully divine seed, or have more than 3 males in the DNA, can you regain your divine, pure, holy seed before you leave this life? Yes. Yes, you can. And I can close the read. Any questions? Yes.
You spoke about the female. What about the male?
What about the man?
I'm saying, see, yeah, the woman got affected. The male can get affected.
Okay, the male is affected by sex acts as well. You ever notice some men, when we was younger, well, I'm still young. When we was younger, right? What happened is this. You ever had a friend who got a girlfriend, and older lady got a girlfriend? Guys used to chill. Got a girlfriend, you can't find him no more? He's being affected by a spirit force at that point. The problem not the problem, the difference between a man and a woman is her genes don't lock onto him. What I mean by that is that a woman, when she takes on a man, his genes locks into her because she has the what? Mitochondrial DNA that transfers from her to the offspring. The man's mitochondrial DNA. Is the spirit force of that woman on him? Yes, it is. But is it transferred? No, it's not. Because when a man ejaculates on a woman, his sperm cell, when you study the sperm cell, it has a head and it has a tail. Right. Well, the head has what's called the acrosome, and the tail has the mitochondrial DNA. The only thing that goes inside the woman's body is the nucleus, which is the head. His mitochondria gets killed on the outside by her body. Because you know her body's attacking all those cells.
Right, killed.
So the man is still affected. So this doesn't mean that a man should go out there and sleep with every damn woman that he sees. Right. You know what I'm saying? But in no way are we trying to say that men can do that. We're not saying that. That's not a divine masculine, but that's that. Right. A divine masculine is a man who's have years with a woman. If a woman wanted to be with a man, we should see his history. How long does he stay with a feminine? You want to be with a man who, you know him. He was with Susie, Tina, Maria, Kaylee, Jennifer. Guess what? He ain't with none of them right now. Right. He's like, he is not a divine masculine. A divine masculine has a long, extended relationship with a woman that lets you know that he knows how to have a long-term relationship. When you want your daughter to be with a brother who has a long-term relationship, if you thought out he's this guy, that the guy that jumped from Susie to Aaron to Maggie, you really like, oh, nah, he's not for my daughter. I need the brother that's stable, right? Because you want your daughter with a man that's stable. Any man out there that's jumping from woman to woman is definitely not a divine masculine. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, the man is also affected by the spirit force of the feminine as well. But like I said, it doesn't stay with him. The spirit force doesn't stay with him. Of course, everyone is affected by what? STDs.
Yeah.
Right? Male or female. No one is, no except from that. So that's why you have to know who you're dealing with. That's why in our culture we'll say, before you deal with someone, you should know them for what? At least 7 years. Right? And we also tell you the court, right?
Right.
How long we say the court? 6 months to a year, right?
Yeah.
Do you really know a person in 6 months to a year? Go. You don't, not it? The real teaching was you gotta know that person for at least 7 years. You don't know what they do. You don't know what they're about. You don't know if this man likes men and you're a woman. We ain't against it, but a woman may not want to be with a man that does that. And vice versa. A woman may like women. You may not want to be with a woman that like women.
Right.
Right? So you have to get to know the person, get to know their sexual habits, get to know how they act when they're mad. That's the important thing. Because you don't know how a person will react when they're mad. Some brothers sit with me when they get mad, right or wrong.
That's true.
And some brothers deal with them through conversation. So women hit men. So you want to be with a woman that hits a man? No. Because it's going to trigger something in you to want to hit her. Right? Everyone should keep their hands to themselves. So you got to get to know your partner. And a lot of people don't follow these sexual laws. You understand it? Because most people are horny. They see somebody they get physically attracted to, and all of a sudden they want to jump in the bed. That's not how age is supposed to go. It's supposed to get to know the person, get to know their genetics. Did that person have any type of cancer that runs in the family? Or you just caught up in their fix and the big boutique? You caught up in that, but you didn't know that the mom or the father have cancer.
Right.
And it runs in the family. But they got diabetes. Oh, you get a plan? They have some type of sickness in the bloodline. You don't know because you didn't take the time to think about it. So just you like how they visibly look. Right? So these are all the things that we take into consideration when finding a partner. So no, men are also affected by the genetic case, not just women. It's just that the reason why we put a lot of emphasis on the woman is because she's the record keeper.
That's right.
That's the only reason.
That's right.
Because we know that it takes perseverance. It takes a lot of refrain for a woman to stay in her divine feminine state. Because she think like us too. You don't think when to see handsome men that they bite. But the one that keeps us so secure only to one man, that's divine. You know what I'm saying? So.
Nothing online right now. In Newark.
You got there, Ian?
Yeah, I think I didn't think I had it, but I checked. I have it. I was gonna definitely ask you for it.
Back in the days, he had certain scrolls that the master broke on relationships, and he would always talk harsh of the promiscuousness of humans. And he do that on purpose, because you got to see the harsh reality of being promiscuous, so that you don't do it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And you don't breed a generation of people that's gonna do it. Because let's be real, the young boys are looking up to who in the tribe? They're looking up to the older men. And the young girls are looking up to who? So the women. So we also be setting examples for them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To make better versions of ourselves. You know? So be wise. Male and females, be wise. Just like I said, just because you may have been down those roads, don't look at yourself as crazy. As long as you're on the right path now, that's all that matters.
Yeah. My little sister had a question. I say little, but I'm just being younger. My DNA sister. It's like I'm back. Did I miss much? I was like, I answered it. 2.5 hours. But you come back. So she's like, thanks, big bro.
You think about if we can ask you about this. Virginity, right? Can a man realistically be a virgin? Virgin, when you look at the word virgin, does it have anything in there that deals with a man? No. Because people think, people's definition of a virgin is what? A person who never had sex. But that's not what a virgin means. Right. A person, a woman is only considered a virgin because her hymen is not broken. Do a man have a hymen? So virgin is not blocked to a man. As simple as that. And by definition, right? That word is for a woman. Look it up in the dictionary. But we use it across the board as if it applies to both.
In the Bible, so it got up Virgin Mary, but then there was like Virgin Jesus.
Right. Sure. Yeah. Everybody, when it comes to virginity, in all cultures, they praise the virgin woman. That's why woman was to get married, even in the scriptures, culturally. The marriage for a virgin that's will be different from marriage to a woman who's not a virgin. Like what is a Christian marriage is they supposed to wear white, right? But so a lot of all these women is wearing white, that's not working this stuff. They need to wear black.
Some lady
Blue, really?
With the same color, I mean, the same.
Matchup. Akim got a question. Akim is saying, can you speak on the importance of what we wear at bookstores and on a regular day? Yeah.
Okay, so when you see a policeman, how do you know he's a policeman? Uniform is the size. When you see a mailman, how do you know him? Uniform. When you see ambulance, what they call them, EMT. How you know they EMT? Cause they're uniform, right? When you see a Muslim, how do you know they're Muslim? Without them talking. Okay. Christian. We don't know. You did very.
Only the notice. Yeah.
32.
Oh, the Jebusites, Jews. How you know a Jew when you see one? Barely like okay. And how do you know the black Jews when you see them?
Are you phone? No, my papa.
So anyway, the whole point is this: in the culture, right? In our culture, our entire people supposed to be able to get realistically, right? If we want to be under protection of the Netziv, one of the Netzivs came down and gave us a dress code, right? They gave the brothers a dress code, Muapi man tie, right? And they gave the women dress code. Even recently, updated the women dress code, right? So the whole point is that's your protection to wear the code and for people to identify who you are. When you see these Mersads, you know that that's a Sabian, Nawapi. You know what I'm saying? When you see the arm fleet, you know that's the Sabian, Nawapi. So and it's just like the women. What do the women wear that we could identify them as well when their hair?
Yeah, that's right.
Braid, right? And what do some of the brothers wear?
Braid.
Braids, right? So there's, in our culture, we have things that we do in our culture to identify us as who and what we are. When we don't have to talk, and trust me, when you wear the attire, it protects you. If you're looking like the people of the world, then you'll be treated like them a lot of times. But if you go to the corner store right now with this crown, even the hustler, yo, what up, God?
Yeah.
See, they ain't even trying to bother because they know that you're not, and they were. You know what I'm saying? So the attire alone would alleviate you with problems in the streets if you got that attire on. You know what I'm saying?
So then should it be described as any difference from the bookstores on a regular day?
Nah. Nope. Not at all. You should be always dressed as if it's a Sabian Nawapi. Because you're not bookstore Sabian Nawapi. You're a Sabian Nawapi. It's just Sabian Nawapi. Or Nawapi and Sabi, right? So we should always wear our attire anywhere we at. So always be identified because you're still trying to be protected even when you're not at the bookstore. You're more protected at the bookstore. You're less out there. So you want to wear it definitely when you're out there. But comes to the bookstore, like you show us a attire as well. It just shows. And do it because, once again, You don't want the children to get this impression that this is a church or this is a mosque. No, this is not something we do only on a Sunday or on the Sabbath or when we gather because of an event. No, no, no. Do it all the time. You ever go to neighborhoods that's predominantly the Jebusites? How do you know it's predominantly Jebusite? They're all Bobby Nelson's on. They're all just the same. Right? Same thing for us. We supposed to be down into the point where we all live in communities, how it was from the beginning. So it's got to be in the end where we have a community where you can identify us in our community and say, those are the Sabians under that. You know? So yes, you're attached in something all the time.
Good question. Good question.
You know what I'm saying? Even if you only have one, why should it? Where did it be? You ever saw the B movie and you had the B outfits and you all look the same? That's like us. Rather clothes, you lock your man, same color.
Switch to be same color. Yeah.
And you find it that we do this thing in our culture where we allow in our culture, women are allowed to be more expressive in the colors that they wear. And the men is always in the black and gold, the bumblebee. You ever notice that? We always in the black and gold, women to wear whatever.
Yeah.
But we know in this same time, we're supposed to be going back to what? White
joints.
right? And that's something from what they saw. Because we know that the book of Revelation in the Bible was really an extraterrestrial book. That there's messages in that book. But only a person who that book was given to can interpret it. And if you go to Revelation 1, what does it say in there? Let's read Revelation 1 real fast. Revelation 1 clearly tells the revelation of who? Jesus Christ, right? Which God gave unto him to shew unto his servant things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified by his angel unto his servant John, right? So, we at least say this is an extraterrestrial book. We know that the revelation, we could just change that whole thing. This is the revelation of who? Hark, the real Messiah, right?
Messiah. Yep.
Which the same Ray gave unto him, right? It shirked unto his servant John, right? And then signified by who? His angel. Who is his angel? Who is Jesus' angel? Exactly. Because Jesus what? The Prince of Peace. And Melchizedek is who? King of Peace. So who is the angel Michael? Melchizedek is the angel Michael. And we tell you all the time in this day and time, the angel Michael goes back to different cultures.
Right.
So if you want to go to Egypt, that would be Djibouti. You want to go to Sumer, that could be Murdu or Nigizida. What else? You want to go to other cultures, you know what? I'm going to Utu. I'm saying? And today, in this day of time, he's known as what? Panabadia Nand. So in this same time, Baba took in the book of Revelation and translated it. So if you want to know what's going on in this day and time as well, if you had the Injil, you could look and read it and see certain things that what should surely come to pass, which is already happening.
Yep.
Right? And that's why we look at this the end of time. That's why we look at certain scrolls like Leviathan 666. And now he revealed to you and tell you, see that man right there? That's Trump. Right? I'll tell you, that's the contact man. But who? The Nar. So Trump is in position, not by chance, but by order of their ancestors, their Nakis. Because he's the contact man on earth. And a lot of extraterrestrial things being presented at this very time while he's in office. Right? And look at his name, Trump. What it talks about in Revelation? The trumpets being blown, right? Trumpet. So there's a whole bunch of things that's happening this day and time, but most people don't see. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, we're here to try to wake people up to that reality. Of course, for those who have an ear to listen to the angel who have said it, right?
That's right.
So
I'm here.
what many people don't realize on the planet is that the most staunch Christian, the most staunch Muslim, most staunch Jew. They don't realize we're the most staunch of all their culture. Because everything that their culture teach, we have it in some way or form in our culture. Why? Because we gave birth to his religion. The birth of religion. We are the birth of their religion. Without Wu-Sabat, there's no religion. So many of the things that's in there, the things that's realistic and not the fairy tale stuff, we teach. We've been teaching about extraterrestrials for years. Isn't extraterrestrials all over the Bible?
Yeah.
They just call them angels. They come down from outer space
And always.
to earth, right? When they say die, what's the Father's pray? The Lord's prayer. Our Father who God by
Yeah.
where is heaven?
Outside of the planet.
Outside. So our Father who are in space. Right? Thy kingdom come to earth. I mean, he's coming to earth. How? It could be interdimensional. It could be on the crowd. Or let's use religious terms. It could be on the whirlwind. It could be on Ezekiel's wheel, right? It could be on a star that moves and tell the wise men what his baby at. Because we know damn well stars can't direct you no way.
They don't change the
You don't know. A star, you can't follow a star. That's a damn spacecraft. You know what I'm saying? And hover over where the baby was. Come on, this is spacecrafts. You know what I'm saying? But in religious terms, they use terms like whirlwind, Ezekiel will, light, right? Or crystal six, right? So space was that.
The donkey, the
So as long as you stay in confines of religious terminology, people accept extraterrestrials. What we do, we strip that religious terminology. That's a spacecraft, man. Stop playing. You know what I'm saying? That's what it really is. Right.
God move across the face of the waters. Spacecraft.
Correct.
That's true.
All right, no questions at the moment.
Okay. All right. So if there's no more questions,
Let me check on one more time.
cut class. We're gonna cut class shortly. And thanks for coming out. How's great class? Appreciate you, man. She can sit. And about it. It's a back. Give me guess. What's up?
That ball. See, viewer.
Now, but let's see. They call it. They call. Right.